All right, guys, welcome to Press X Podcast episode 33. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. I was obviously experimenting here with something a little bit different. So, thank you guys for being here and remaining patient. I will keep the member scroll up for just a little bit. Even though it does say starting soon, obviously, we have officially started. And this is going to be a very interesting episode, in my opinion, because we have a lot to discuss and talk about. Also, bonus points to anybody who could figure out what that song was or what that theme was. It seems like most of you got it. And I'm hoping that's something I can continue to use with no issues. I would like to kind of have the members' credits roll here, a little bit early because for those of you wondering why I start 5 minutes late, it's to allow more people to file in. But I know one of the issues that some people run into is when they, when they wait and it officially starts, the first thing that kicks off is an ad more often than not. And, some people don't like to feel like they're late at all. They like to hear the all right guys. So I figure, if I let this roll with some pretty cool background music, why not? Why not? But, also, for those of you who are here, maybe you can let me know, were you getting notified of my stream? For those of you who do have notifications turned on, or even those who do not have them turned on, was the podcast showing up in your subscription feed? Just making sure, because this is something I apparently have to keep track of on a week-over-week basis, because sometimes things just mess up. A lot of you guys are saying yes, you did get notified. Okay, cool. All right, well, I guess just to kind of start things off here, as I said, thank you guys for being here. I think it's going to be a really good show. I will run over some of the topics we're going to discuss. The real Craig. Hey, MBG, do you think Phil Spencer got his PS5 pre-order secured? I didn't get mine, unfortunately. I don't know. I don't know if Phil Spencer is going to buy a PS5. I assume he will. I know that he's played some of the big PS4 exclusives, so I'm assuming he will. Darren, you're saying nice waiting music, MBG. Is it Metal Gear 2? Yes, it is Metal Gear Solid 2. It's the main menu theme. I think it sounds awesome. I think it fits perfectly. Again, I'm hoping I can use it without any issues. We're going to find out if that's the case. But most of you know I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid fan. In fact, it's my favorite game franchise of all time. Unfortunately, we did not see it revealed at the latest PlayStation 5 event, and we're going to talk all about that. But just want to give a shout out to all of my members. Obviously, I have the credits roll here, but a huge thank you to all of my members, those who have been here for quite some time, those of you who are new. I will let everybody know that you can expect towards the end of the month the next episode of MBG and Friends to go up, and it should be a pretty interesting episode because the last episode we actually talked about our expectations for PlayStation and Sony going into September. We're almost, finished with September. I mean, we're kind of about halfway through, but a lot of big moments have happened, so we're going to kind of talk about everything that went down. So look forward to that. For those of you who are here, we have over 800 people. Make sure you hit that like button. We're almost at 200 likes. It helps the podcast out incredibly. You guys really showed up in force during the PlayStation event live stream. I think it was my most successful live stream here on the channel ever. So I have to give a big thank you to everybody who was part of that. Obviously, not everybody who showed up to that was necessarily a fan of the channel, but still, it was a damn good time, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to put the gameplay up in the background here. I did record myself playing some Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, the alpha. I believe it's going to end very soon, but PlayStation owners did get an exclusive alpha, which was really cool. And I guess just to talk about this briefly, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed my time with it. It was the most fun I've had in a long time with a Call of Duty game. It feels basically like the polar opposite of what Modern Warfare 2019 is. So if you're a huge fan of Modern Warfare 2019, there's probably a lot here that you're not a huge fan of when it comes to the gameplay changes and kind of going back. It's not perfect, obviously, but we do have a new member, Maurice Tyler. Thank you so much, buddy, for choosing to support me directly here. Obviously, my members go a long way in helping support me as an independent content creator. So thank you so much. Look forward to your exclusive member perks. But yeah, the Call of Duty Cold War alpha, it is an alpha. So my number one issue with it is the way it looked. I was playing it on the PS4 Pro, and boy, was it rough. It did not look like it would. I mean, it looked like it was running at 1080p, maybe even lower than that, 900p. But again, I didn't care because it's literally an alpha. It's a really old build of the game. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time with it. One of the things I do want to mention here as well, I am a pretty big Call of Duty fan. I've kind of fallen off of it the past couple of years. It feels like it's been a really long time since I've enjoyed a Call of Duty game. Honestly, I really thought Modern Warfare 2019 was going to be it, but with the map design, the doors, it was a little bit too much for me. I just couldn't enjoy it. It felt like it just wasn't really a Call of Duty game. And so coming back to this, playing Black Ops Cold War feels really good, man. It feels really good. It has that Treyarch feel to it, and it's just a really good time overall. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm gonna be there day one on the PlayStation 5 with it, and I know this sounds kind of weird, but I'm kind of glad that the graphics or the resolution is as low as it was when playing this, because I feel like when I finally play it on the PS5, it's really going to be a huge jump in just how great it looks. But you're saying Call of Duty Cold War feels like a downgrade. Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, the sound of the guns definitely is like, whoa. It's, that the movement is a little bit more clunky, obviously, but I do like that. It feels more arcadey. I know that it's not everybody's cup of tea, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, guys. I have to say. So anyway, let's just dive into some of the main topics we're going to talk about. So Sony reveals the price of the PlayStation 5. They reveal the release date, and they revealed pre-order information, and it was an absolute cluster. It still kind of is. So let's talk about this whole situation. Terry G, you're saying Jim Ryan confirmed no backwards compatibility in a recent interview. Yeah, I guess we could just kick it off there. Before diving into the other stuff, it has been confirmed, unsurprisingly, that the PlayStation 5 will not play PS3, PS2, or PS1 games, and I cannot say that this is even the least bit surprising. I can't say that I'm upset about this at all. I think it's completely expected. What does matter and what is important, in my opinion, is that PS4 backwards compatibility is confirmed. 99% of the PlayStation 4 library will be playable. That 1% are most likely just some really bizarre outliers, games that probably nobody's even thinking about playing on their PS5. What makes it even better is Sony did confirm that the boost mode is still a real thing, and there will be select games that do get boosted due to the PlayStation 5's power. So when it comes to the whole backwards compatibility thing, guys, look, I've told you before, to me, it's just the cherry on top or the sprinkles on top of the sundae, whatever you want to call it. It's not even the whipped cream. It's not the icing on the cake. The fact we're getting PS4 backwards compatibility is all that truly matters. Obviously, I was advocating for PS3, PS2, and PS1 backwards compatibility just because, hey, that would be great, and it would show that Sony's really trying to match what Microsoft has done with the Xbox. But at the same time, I always cautioned everybody, you have to remain skeptical, because it's just one of those things where it's 50-50. Maybe Sony wants to do it, maybe not. There are certainly some insiders, supposedly, or some rumors, leaks, all that stuff that were pointing to this, and anybody who was really kind of, pushing that, I guess they were just wrong, right? So, I see somebody saying that you hope to God Bloodborne will run at a 60 FPS boost mode. No, it seems much more likely, unfortunately, maybe fortunately for some, unfortunately for others, looks like Bloodborne's going to get remastered. In other words, you're going to have to pay for it, which we will talk a little bit more about the whole Spider-Man remaster thing, because I know some people are very upset about that. So I do want to talk more about that in depth. I'm not Army is what I'll call you. You're saying MBG. Any info about Gran Turismo 7's release date? As of right now, no. We haven't really heard anything more about Gran Turismo, so I don't know if that's a launch window title. It seems at this point it might come a little bit later, sometime in 2021. Zach, you're saying, is it really alpha when the game comes out in November, man? I don't trust Activision one bit. It is alpha because, the build that we are playing specifically is probably months old at this point. When an alpha build, just because we're playing the alpha right now doesn't mean the game is actually in an alpha state. It's most likely far beyond an alpha state by this point. You would assume. I would hope so. There's no reason to not be skeptical. I mean, again, yeah, it is Activision, but the chances that we're playing a current build is very, very low. This is most likely a build that's months and months old. So that's my assumption anyway. That's usually how alphas work when you play them. Even when people go out there early on and get early hands-on access to it, you're usually playing a build that's at least a couple of months old. So. But yeah, the price of the PS5, guys, there's not really too much more I can say about this other than that I think Sony nailed the price point. The only real concern for some people is, as excited as they want to be about, oh, look at that $400 digital edition PS5, even though we know that apparently there's very few out there. There's way more of the disc-based version, which I'm happy about personally because I'm a big advocate for physical content. But it's a strange situation because even though I think this is Sony's ace in the hole, I told you guys this in a video, the $399 sweet spot price point, I do think the best deal when it comes to entry to next gen, and I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying here, okay? Even better than the Xbox Series S by a large margin, in my opinion, the digital edition PS5. If somebody is price conscious out there and the price is the most important thing to them, even with that being said, surely anybody who's looking to upgrade to next gen, even if price is your number one factor, surely right behind that, the number one or number two thing you have to be asking about is, well, how big of a leap is it really going to be? Is it even worth spending hundreds of dollars? Between the Xbox Series S being $300 and the digital edition PS5 being $400, just from a spec point of view, just from a specification power point of view, that $100 extra you're going to spend on the PS5 is way, way, way worth it. But that's not even factoring the games, right? What about the games you're going to get on the PlayStation 5, right? Obviously, this is something that I think everybody should consider, even those who don't really buy a console just for exclusive games. I feel like you have to look at that PS5 digital edition coming in at $400, and you have to look at least some of the games that Sony's going to have on offer. So, yeah, I'm going to ask once, please do not spam the chat. I have no tolerance for spam. You will be blocked from the channel. I will not put you on timeout, so there is your one and only warning. But yeah, so we have the Mark Shark. You're saying actually felt bad for Xbox watching Demon Souls. Yeah, don't get me wrong, dude. I'm definitely going to talk in depth about Demon Souls because, wow, the fact that Demon Souls is going to come in as a launch title, it's, I mean, to me, I know it sounds a little bit cheesy, but it's kind of like a dream, right? Where I was really hoping for a long time, and I was hoping with the belief, honestly, deep down that it's just wishful thinking. That's all it is just me hoping that, man, if I could play Demon Souls Remake, because I never played the original Demon Souls. So I understand that some people are probably like, really, dude, your most anticipated game is a remake? Yeah, because I've never played it before. So for me, it was like, wow, the idea that I could be playing Demon Souls Remake, that's my first ever PlayStation 5 experience. It just sounded too good to be true. And then we actually found out that's what was going to happen. But then, guys, did you see that Demon Souls gameplay? I went back and I watched it in 4K on my big screen TV, and I was blown away, man. It looked phenomenal. It looked absolutely amazing. And I Could not be more excited for Demon Souls. I'm so excited for this game. I want to make content on it. I want to cover it. I want to stream myself playing it. I want to, dude, I'm diving in deep. I'm extremely excited for Spider-Man Miles Morales, but Demon Souls for me is it just takes things to another level. Like in my opinion, Demon Souls makes the PS5's launch possibly the best I've ever seen. The game just looks stellar. It really does. And it's funny because I've seen people talking about how difficult Demon Souls is. Now, I've beaten every single Dark Souls game. I've beaten Bloodborne. I haven't played Sekiro, but I think, the Souls games and Bloodborne are pretty difficult. I think we can all agree on that. But I've seen some people letting me know that, dude, this experience you're going to have on Demon Souls, it's significantly more difficult. And so you need to prepare yourself. And so I'm kind of like, okay. I mean, to me, that's part of it, right? That's part of the allure, I guess you could say, of the Souls-born games. But I am expecting a huge challenge, and I think it will be interesting if I do stream that game specifically because with the difficulty, it's going to be interesting to see how I'm able to handle it. Am I going to get completely crushed and stomped to the point where I'm like, guys, I need to take a break, or who knows? Maybe I'll be, um, you know, better at it than I'm anticipating. But I had to talk about Demon Souls, man, because like I'm going to be honest right now, guys. There is a lot of controversy right now surrounding the PlayStation, but it does bother me a little bit to see how people are seemingly, in my opinion, they're losing the forest for the trees here. Like we're at that moment, man, where it's like we're on the edge and we're about to dive headfirst into next gen. We're this close. And it's just crazy to me that there's so many people seemingly focused on other things that, I'm focused on them too. I run a YouTube channel here where we talk about next gen, we talk about the consoles, we talk about the games. So it's understandable, I think, for anybody to be paying some attention to it. But I'm just saying, I'm surprised to see how a lot of people are seemingly not talking about the games. They're not talking about, just how amazing some of these gaming experiences look, how excited they are for these games. And they're focusing on these other things that I'm just like, I get it. Believe me, I get it. Again, I'm somebody who covers this stuff. So I understand more so than a lot of other people, but still, like, let's not lose the forest for the trees here, guys. What is this all about at the end of the day? Ultimately, it's about gaming. It's about the gaming experience. It's about the games you're going to play. So once you lose sight of that in favor of something else that, hey, if that's what's most important to you, then more power to you. But just remember what it is, the focus, in my opinion, and I'm not saying my opinion needs to be yours, but come on now. We're talking about video games, right? So what's the most important thing at the end of the day when you're talking about gaming? The games that you're going to play. We have Fred Vance, you're saying, be careful about dying in Demon Souls because of the world paradigm shift. Yeah, I did hear about that. I'm very interested to see if they retain that. I'm sure they did, but I have to imagine there's going to have to be some minor tweaks they had to make to it because even I think the most hardcore dedicated fans were like, come on, this is too extreme, even for the most extreme. But it will be interesting to see how that goes. Trey, I am too. Thank you for that donation, buddy. iSiler18, you're saying, feel the need to share that I fell off of the scaffolding as Abby on permadeath. That's 18 hours down the drain. Continue on, MBG. Wow. Salute to you, iSiler18. That sounds, I don't know how I would handle that. If that was me, I probably would just put the controller down, uninstall the game, and be like, I'm done. I'm done. Although I feel like with permadeath, don't they have some caveats with the permadeath for The Last of Us Part 2 where you can load up a checkpoint or something? Either way, though, that sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Beastly said, you're saying, MBG, did you know Demon Souls Remake has co-op and PvP like all the Souls games? See, I was a little bit confused about that. Okay, hold on. Please stop with the spam, dude. I don't want to have to ban you from the channel, but I will if I have to. So only warning I'm going to give you, man. But yeah, that was something I was very interested in. I knew there was PvP. I was unsure if there was actually co-op in Demon Souls like the other Souls games. And that does get me very excited. They haven't talked about it, as far as I know, in the remake. Now, am I saying that we should be worried that this won't be included? No, I'm assuming it will be, but they still haven't talked about it yet. So I hope we don't end up seeing a really unfortunate situation where it's like, oh yeah, By the way, we didn't really include multiplayer to any capacity. That would really suck, and I am certainly not anticipating that. As far as I'm concerned, they are going to have multiplayer and co-op. So maybe you guys can let me know, has this been confirmed yet? I haven't seen it, but I think the assumption is it's a remake. And if it's a remake, you expect everything to be there, right? Including the multiplayer. So I am very excited. The multiplayer will be a big aspect. I don't, I anticipate that I will need certainly some help co-op, but I'm interested in the PvP as well. Multiplayer is confirmed. Okay. All right, hold on one sec here, guys. I'm gonna have to just, yeah, okay. Thank you to my mods for taking care of business. But yeah, Demon Souls, I could probably like I said, I plan to create more content on Demon Souls specifically because it is easily my most anticipated game. Um it's my most anticipated game for the PS5, and I could not be happier knowing that I'm going to be playing this game day one. Like, it's most likely going to be the first game I play on the PS5. It will be my first official PS5 experience. So, guys, in the chat, let me know, for those of you who do plan to get a PS5, whether it's at launch or at some point, what's the first game you plan to play? I mean, the very first game that you boot up, is it going to be Astro's Playroom? I think that that could be a game for a lot of people, but for me, it's going to have to be Demon Souls. A lot of these Spider-Man, Cyberpunk, Godfall. I'm excited for all those games too. And it makes me wonder, like, where am I going to find the time to play all of this? Cold War, Spider-Man, seeing a lot of Spider-Mans. Knack, backwards compatibility Knack. Okay, I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe that'll be one of the games that gets boosted. Omega slash Buster One, you're saying in Demon Souls you can play as a boss in a boss fight. Can you really? I don't recall ever seeing anything about that. I see somebody saying bug snacks. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be good. Are you sure about that, man? I don't know if that's maybe like a modded PC version or something. I can't imagine that you can play as a boss. But yeah, guys, dude, Demon Souls is going to kick it off for me. You know, a lot of people ask me, what's the future of your channel going to be, MBG, once the PS5 releases? Because there's no doubt that the main focus of my channel for months and months now has been the PS5, and it's going to continue to be the PS5 until launch. Anybody thinking that I'm going to suddenly stop talking about the PS5 once it launches, that's not going to happen. There's still going to be plenty to talk about when it comes to the PS5 for many years to come after it's launched. But when it comes to evolving my channel a little bit, one of the things I do plan to do is get kind of back to gaming in a big way. I've talked about this before, but I'll just mention it briefly here once more. I feel like at this point in time, I'm pretty much checked out of the PlayStation 4 generation, the current generation. I'm 100% ready to dive in headfirst when it comes to next-gen gaming. And for me, it just kind of feels like a fresh start, a new start. What accessories will I be getting on launch day? Whatever I can get. If I can get all of them, that'd be great. I'm assuming I won't be able to. I want to at least get a second controller, and I want to try to get the camera. I can't promise that I'm going to do a face cam when I stream these games, but it's a possibility. Again, new beginnings with the PS5. I would like to get the camera. Again, not confirming that I will be on camera when I stream, but who knows? Maybe it will be an appropriate time for some type of change like that to occur. But if I can get all the accessories, I'd love to. At the moment, I am just happy that I did get a PlayStation 5 pre-order. I know a lot of people still have not, and I'm hoping that I don't run into any issues with it. But there's going to be a lot of great content on the channel once the PS5 releases. The number one thing I'm looking forward to getting back into is really diving deep into games. Obviously, because I'm a PlayStation-themed channel, and I know that the majority of you, just like myself, are very excited for a lot of the PlayStation 5 exclusives that are coming up, as well as some of the PS4, with the whole cross-gen thing. There's a lot of them, too. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, there's a lot. If you look at the first year of the PlayStation 5, it's looking bananas. It really is. If everything that's supposed to come out comes out in 2021, holy crap. The launch lineup itself, See, there's just so much to talk about. It's hard to, I keep kind of going all over the place, but that's the number one thing I'm insanely excited to really get back into, guys, is, for those of you who've been following my transition from being more of an Xbox centric guy, I was really close minded and I kind of closed myself off. Unboxing video, yes, I plan to do an unboxing video, but I did close myself off for quite some time. And I finally decided, you know what? Looking at the direction Xbox is going in, mainly looking at the games that they're offering and how I'm just not really on board with them. Hearing everybody tell me, dude, you got to go to PlayStation 4. These are must play games. You have no idea what you're missing out on. I took the plunge and I am insanely glad that I did. And ever since then, you guys watched my journey where I was playing a lot of the older exclusives that I missed and some of the even newer games that came out, such as Days Gone and Death Stranding, and for better or for worse, The Last of Us Part 2. I really dived deep into these games and I really loved covering them. I just love that experience, and I've kind of fell off of that, unfortunately, with Ghost of Tsushima as well as any other games, but that's because I'm just kind of, crouching down, getting ready to really come back full swing. We're gonna have a hell of a lot to talk about and a hell of a lot of content that's going to be made. And to me, it feels like the next step for the channel, and I'm really excited for you guys to hopefully take that step with me. It's going to be a great time. The Wonderful Gaming Co. You're saying pre-ordered 1 minute after they went live in UK. Ironically, I'm excited to play Doom Eternal. I have the base PS4 and the upgrade should be massive. Yeah, hopefully it will be. Hopefully it will be, man. If you're playing it on the base PS4, you should see a significant upgrade, like you said. And, I'm happy to hear you were able to get your pre-order. Devin, you're saying, or Devon, hopefully I'm not butchering your name, but you're saying, do you think that the next God of War game will be released on the PS4 as well, since Sony has come out and said they're supporting it for 3 to 4 years? See, I think people are misunderstanding. There are certainly some quotes we have to go over from Jim Ryan today. I think people are misinterpreting it and misunderstanding what Jim Ryan said when it comes to supporting the PS4 for 3 to 4 years. I completely understand that the timing of when he said this certainly does make it sound like, oh, we're going to be releasing cross-gen games for the next 3 to 4 years. That's not what he meant. It's just the fact that, he's saying this at the worst possible time and allowing people to completely misinterpret what he's saying. I think Jim Ryan made the mistake of not talking enough in his recent interviews. I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh, he needs to keep his mouth shut. He's talking too much. No, I think Jim Ryan made the huge mistake of not explaining enough. And I'm going to tell you why in a little bit here. PlayStation Nexus, you're saying, PSA, I deliver for FedEx. This is the worst year for shipping. Protection plans are needed. Things break way more often these days. If I figure out which boxes they are shipped in, I will protect them. Well, that's good to know, PlayStation Nexus. Thank you for that insight. Anybody who is listening, I listen to what PlayStation Nexus is saying here. I 100% believe it. I still think I have time to add some type of protection plan onto my PS5 pre-order, so I'm going to have to do that. So thank you for that heads up. But let's just talk about the pre-order situation really quick here. Jordan G, you're saying people need to stop freaking out about Amazon's email. They sent that same email when the Switch was available for pre-order, so calm down. Yeah, I admit, I think I jumped on that a little too hard. I think I maybe went with the whole fear factor thing there a little bit too much. I did see some people saying like, dude, you need to calm down. In my last video, they're like, you're making it sound like they're essentially saying your pre-order is canceled. They're just saying there's a chance it may be a little bit late. I will admit, I jumped the gun a little bit on that, but it was just really sad to see a lot of people get that email because there is a chance that some of them could be, canceled, unfortunately. But yeah, you are right. I think that that's just Amazon just kind of covering themselves just in case something bad does happen, which, considering the, everything that's going on right now, the way this year's been, I expect that there will be, some bad stuff happening. But talking about the pre-order fiasco, look, I don't know if you guys saw Angry Joe's rant about the pre-orders, but my God, I was going to put out like a funny tweet, but I was just like, it doesn't matter. But I'll say it here. Like, if you took a shot for every time he dropped the F-bomb within the first 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes of that video, you'd be dead. You'd be dead. His rant was intense, man, but you could tell he was very upset. And I think that a lot of people, kind of felt that way and still do feel that way. And, you know, Sony actually came out on their Twitter account and apologized. And that's interesting because Sony like never apologizes for anything. Like they don't normally do that. The last time I can remember them really doing a big public apology and like really just basically saying like we really screwed up was back in 2011 with the whole hack that happened with the PSN. And I'm sure maybe there's been something since then, but this is really like, okay, you know, I put out a tweet. It was a couple days ago, almost a week ago at this point. Maybe not a week. No, it was just a couple days ago. I'm losing track of time here. Where, you know, the official PlayStation account was tweeting out about the PS5, all the details, and I just said, like, look, Sony, you need to apologize. At the very least, you need to say sorry to all the fans, PS5 fans, who are not going to be able to get a PS5 day one because you just, you know, you totally caught everybody off guard. You had Eric Limpel saying that, don't worry, we're not going to drop it at a moment's notice, to then just give us only a single day to prepare, which granted, I don't blame Sony 100% for the situation that occurred. It's pretty obvious at this point that not developers, that retailers jumped the gun, and I think it was actually Walmart that kicked it off. Walmart straight up put out a tweet like, "Wait 1 day for pre-orders? Nah, we're not doing that. Come pre-order now." And I was just like, "What? Like, how could you do that to Sony? How could you do Sony like that?" Because I mean, I was lucky enough to secure my pre-order through um, Walmart, but anybody who was watching my live stream that day, you'll know it was really funny because I kept saying like, guys, I'm really nervous that pre-orders are about to go live now. And everybody's saying like, dude, calm down. They're not live now. They're going live tomorrow. But I just had this feeling in the back of my mind, man, that like, I don't know. Something's going to happen. And somebody was messing around with me while I was streaming and said, dude, the pre-orders are live. You got to go get one now. And I started panicking like, oh God, don't tell me they're live right now as I'm streaming live. But literally, like within 30 minutes of me ending that stream, I did find out they actually were live on Walmart, and I was like panicking, like, oh God, like I knew this was gonna happen, you know. And I gotta tell you guys, like, I feel for everyone who wants a PS5 and isn't gonna be able to get one. But I think most of you understand, like, I have a YouTube channel centered around this brand, you know, around the games that are gonna be on offer on the PlayStation 5. It's imperative that I get one day one so I can cover this stuff and not have to wait. And so I was just freaking out, man. But luckily I secured one. Sir Speaks a Lot, you're saying, got my pre-order with MPG feet pics included. I don't know, man. I think you may have gotten scammed on that one. But DS is what I will call you because I don't want to completely butcher your name. Saying MBG, I think the PS5 will launch in 2021 in India as they removed the launch date from the official website. That's really unfortunate. I hope that that's not the case. It does seem like Sony may actually run into some shortage issues, and they were striving for some type of worldwide simultaneous launch. And even now, we know that that's not the case, with the release date in some territories being the 12th of November and others having to wait a week until the 19th of November. Hopefully that doesn't happen, man. But, you know, it wouldn't surprise me at all. There's clearly some issues going on with, I don't want to say not production, but just the demand is so high, you know. Jordan G, you're saying, I've heard that it was poor communication from both sides, so I'd give half the blame to the retailers and half to Sony, but it worked out for some. Yeah, I cannot blame the retailers 100% because Sony basically giving retailers 1 day's notice. Come on, that's basically asking for something bad to happen, which it did. But again, Sony did apologize, and the most important thing is Sony did make it clear that they're going to work with retailers to rectify the situation with them and allow more. They said that more pre-orders will be available between now up until launch, so they're probably going to do it in waves. And, you know, we talked about the idea that maybe it was a good thing the way it worked out because it stopped scalpers and bots from, you know, being ready at the exact moment. It will be very interesting to see what happens at the, launch of the Xbox Series X and S pre-orders, because they have it down to a T. They even said that they're going to punish retailers if they break that, time frame. And so we're going to see how many bots, from what I've heard, apparently when these scalpers, these scumbags, they set up their stuff, they make it to where they can literally have every single console purchased or unit purchased within literally 30 seconds, which is unbelievable. And the people who do this, terrible people who just clearly don't give a shit about anybody else, and they're just looking out for theirs. So that is maybe one positive we can take from this, but ultimately it will be interesting to see what happens with the Xbox and how that works out with their very specific time frames. If bots and scalpers are getting ready, they're going to be ready at those exact times. So I don't know. It's unfortunate that it has to go down this way. In an ideal world, there would just be enough for everybody, right? iSiler18, you're saying continue to freak out because retailers always over pre-order compared to the actual units they get. LOL. We have Kelvin Smith. Actually, hold on. I have a few others. I have Eckham. You're saying, what's up, MBG? The more I think about it, makes sense. A huge title like Horizon would be cross-gen. Sony can sell more copies of that game if they make it available on both platforms. I'm still hyped. Yeah, we're going to talk all about that, man. We're already 40 minutes into the podcast, and I feel like I'm actually running behind. But don't worry, we're going to dive deep into that, and I'll let you know whether or not I agree. Jordan G, you're saying this is off topic, but would you be more excited for Spider-Man 2 PS5 or Bloodborne 2? Me, I'd be more excited for Bloodborne 2. That's what Jordan's saying, and I agree with you, Jordan. Bloodborne 2 would be, that would be like another dream come true. As much as I would be insanely hyped for Spider-Man 2, there's no need to feel anxious about that game because it's 110% happening. Bloodborne 2 is a game where it's like, is that ever going to happen? And if it does, it's like, wow, okay. Kelvin, you're saying Sony didn't open the pre-orders early. Walmart broke the agreement, and that opened the door for other retailers. Messaging is Sony's pre-orders and retailers. Yeah, I mean, look, I 100% believe that it was certainly on the side of retailers as well, where they just kind of like, what are you guys doing? They just hit the button, without getting the phone call. And once, one retailer hit the button, all the retailers hit the button. It's like, I'm sure the executives and everybody up top there at Sony who runs the ship, I'm sure they were fuming at the situation. And you see the amount of blowback. I titled this a roller the big week of the PS5 was a roller coaster ride because that's exactly what it was in all facets. Some ups and downs, very high highs, some potentially pretty low lows with the pre-order situation. Santos, you're saying, hey, MBG, should we expect any minor bugs with the PS5 at launch? Of course, yeah. It's 100% anticipated that there will be some bugs, maybe potentially not so minor, hopefully just minor. But if what they're saying about the OS is true, where, they really kind of revamped it in many ways, I expect the PlayStation 5's UI and OS to look somewhat similar to a certain extent to the PS4's. Like, I don't think it's going to be like completely like unrecognizable, but if what they're saying is true, that they really kind of, went in and overhauled the entire thing, from a coding perspective, then yeah, there's definitely going to be some major bugs. Maybe major isn't the right word to use, but there will be bugs. There will be things that have to get ironed out, and just hopefully there's nothing too severe. I don't expect there to be anything severe, but good question. Because I think a lot of people kind of forget that. Glory Boy Steve, you're saying, I got a physical and digital pre-ordered from GameStop thanks to someone who commented on your live stream video saying he just got one from there. Yeah, some people were thanking me, saying that they're glad that I stayed on stream and kind of I was in real time looking at the stuff that Jeff Keighley was posting on his Twitter, because he was on top of this. He was there before anybody else, kind of, or with maybe some others, saying like, look, guys, we're hearing pre-orders are going live, getting word and stuff like that. So if you guys could do me a favor, that we have over 1,800 people watching, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hit that like button. We're currently at 500 likes. Let's see if we can get it to 500 likes. Did I say 500 likes? I meant 400 likes. Let's see if we can get it to 500 and maybe even 600, possibly even hitting the 1K like mark before the end of the stream. But we need to talk about, I don't want to spend too much time talking about pre-orders, simply because, I've made a lot of videos so far talking about that, going over it. But what I want to talk about, I actually have a paragraph typed up here. So let me read it to you guys. Sometimes I even forget myself some of the stuff that I, wrote down here. Because sometimes I have like small little bullet points just to kind of like, okay, this is one of the topics we're going to discuss. Other times I literally write out like full blown paragraphs. Drex, you're saying, is ray tracing a PS5 timed exclusive? Also, thoughts on fake outrage for file size when they've actually gotten smaller. Spider-Man 70 gigs versus 50 gigs on the PS5. Yeah, that was something that kind of caught me a little off guard, just to touch on that for a moment. The file sizes for Demon Souls and Spider-Man has come out. For Demon Souls, 66 gigabytes, and people are acting like, oh my God, like they're insanely huge. And I'm just like, have you guys not been playing on the PS4 for for like the past year or two? Like, that's about what file sizes kind of are for most big AAA title games, right? Some people were saying Spider-Man's 105 or 110 gigabytes. Like, no, that's Miles Morales and Spider-Man PS4 remastered together. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, Miles Morales is a little bit smaller, so not sure what's up with the outrage there. I think it's to be 100% expected. But I said here, some PlayStation fans are really frustrated with Sony suddenly revealing big PS5 games are also cross-gen. Games such as Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Horizon Forbidden West. Jim Ryan was quoted with saying, "We believe in generations," and this seems to fly in the face of that. So, this is what Jim Ryan had to say about the cross-gen news. Now, I'm going to quote him, and I got to say, I am going to rip Jim Ryan for this one. He says, "No one should be disappointed. The PS5 versions of those games are built from the ground up to take advantage of the PS5 feature set, and we have an upgrade path for PS4 users to get the PS5 versions for free. It's about people having choice. I'm really quite pleased about the situation." Now, look, am I going to rip Jim Ryan here similar to the way I would rip Phil Spencer? Yes, I am. But is it going to be because of the fact that some of these games are going to be PS4 titles? No. No, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is where I'm talking about where, losing the forest for the trees. We're going to separate two things here. Okay? The first thing I want to separate are the games themselves. Because Horizon is confirmed to be going to PS4 or releasing on PS4, same with Spider-Man Miles Morales, based off of, and I want you guys to really focus on this, based off of what we've seen from these games so far, does it make them any less exciting? Maybe a little bit, but ultimately, what I've seen, I don't care at this point that they're going to PS4. Like, do I care that Spider-Man's going to release on PS4? Does that make me any less impressed with the gameplay demonstration that they showed off? Am I any less impressed with the trailer that we've seen of Horizon Forbidden West, knowing that it's going to be on PS4? No, I do understand and I do agree that it is a bit concerning because we do have to think specifically, maybe not so much about Spider-Man, but specifically about Horizon. What could have been? Are there going to be any features in that game that are going to be dramatically toned down, or are there just things that they straight up couldn't achieve because it's being designed for the PS4? Well, we have to understand something. Horizon Forbidden West was in development most likely since, Horizon Zero Dawn came out, so in 2017. The chances that that game started development on the PS4, it did. It started on the PS4, it moved over to PS5, so it's kind of understandable. But iSiler18, you're saying Demon and Spidey take up 20% of the SSD from my understanding, and the external is quite expensive. It can be an issue later on. For sure. The file sizes can be an issue later on, but in my opinion, it's not going to be any different than the situation we see now, or we have seen this current generation. That's just my opinion. Kelvin, you're saying, you literally quoting him saying PS5 versions. Yeah, so here's the thing. The reason why I have a bone to pick with Jim Ryan is because you remember how I said earlier in this podcast, he didn't say enough? He didn't say enough. Jim, come on, man. You have to be more aware than this. You have to, surely you know, surely you knew, I should say, how the community was going to react when you suddenly dropped this news abruptly on everybody and made them look quite foolish for believing in the whole generations. Now, to be fair, yes, Demon's Souls is still a PS5 only game, and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is still a next gen only game. So it's not like Sony is suddenly saying, oh, there's not going to be any next gen only exclusives whatsoever. They're not doing that. However, the way he dropped this and for him to basically just say, oh, nobody should be unhappy. Like, dude, you need to explain yourself. You need to explain everything that you were saying up until this point. And if you look, no one's going to condemn you. I mean, of course, there's going to be people who condemn Sony no matter what for this decision. But if you could at least provide an explanation other than just saying no one should be unhappy, no, that's some Phil Spencer stuff right there. Please let us know the sudden change, the abrupt left turn. We want to know why. If you could at least provide an explanation, we would, fans would be maybe much less upset. If you said it was because, oh, we're afraid we're not going to have enough units for everybody who wants one, and Horizon and Spider-Man are big sellers, and we thought it would be best to put those games specifically on PS4, because if we're going to sell 10 plus million units of this game, but we can't sell 10 plus million units in that time frame, something like that, right? Just sitting there saying like no one should be unhappy. Like, dude, come on. You got to be more self-aware than that. Like, do you not remember what you said about believing in generations? You literally led everybody to believe that all these games were going to be PS5 only, just to suddenly pull the rug out from under us and say, oh, wait, never mind, right? Chase the Chosen One, you're saying people are still forgetting that Demon Souls, Ratchet and Clank are PS5 only and possible with PS5 hardware. Yeah, I did mention that. Devon, you're saying I'm not against having PS5 games cross-gen with the PS4. I think that's great. The problem is the transparency between Jim Ryan and the fans, making people believe that they are only PS5 exclusive. I agree 100%. 100%. That's the point I'm trying to make here, where it's about the messaging. It's about, a lot of people saying like, dude, he straight up lied. Yeah, considering he did not provide a single explanation as to why they marketed it, this way up until this point, and they made the sudden change, it does come off as a straight up lie or extremely misleading at the very least. Ill is Truth, you're saying our gripe isn't with the graphics of cross-gen versions, it's with the gameplay decisions that are dictated by supporting the PS4. Love the content. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, that's the other big concern. Guys, I got a lot of heat, obviously, for very obvious reasons when this announcement or this revelation came to be, when, oh no, like some of these games that we thought weren't going to be cross-gen are suddenly cross-gen. I had to eat some crow, understandably, because it's like, yeah, I went in hard on Microsoft, but to be fair, just like I said in my video that I made talking about this, Microsoft still hasn't shown us why we shouldn't be concerned about cross-gen, even just from a graphical standpoint. Microsoft hasn't proved that we shouldn't be concerned from that perspective. Sony has. However, yes, what I said about game development from the ground up still stands. Now, the reason why I can't sit here and freak out about Horizon is because, again, the game's been in development for years at this point. And it's kind of understandable from that perspective. Like, it started on the PS4 and it went over to the PS5. They were not like, I know Jim Ryan saying that these games were built from the ground up from the PS5. Maybe that's true, but I don't know if I believe that, because again, a game like Forbidden West was in development probably since 2017. And with that in mind, I cannot sit here and imagine that they just canceled, they like scrapped everything they did on the PS4 dev kit and just started from the ground up on the PS5 dev kit. There's a possibility that happened. In fact, there's even the possibility that maybe there's two separate versions. If it's true that they did start from the ground up on the PS5, then there's a really good chance that the PS4 version could be something that's completely separate from that, and in many ways, really held back in some areas. But we don't know. Again, this is where Jim Ryan, he just seems like he's just kind of like blowing it off, like he doesn't have, like, I don't have to explain anything. And to be fair, I mean, he doesn't, but come on now, man. Like, you knew what you knew. Like, there's just no way he's that dense. I don't believe it. Like, even Phil Spencer would know. You know what the reaction to this is going to be. You can't just, why do you think they didn't reveal it explicitly during the event itself? They waited till afterwards to just kind of like throw it out there. It's like, that's some shady stuff you're doing there, man. And I don't like that. Like, I I don't like that sneaky type of, deceitful, like, oh, well, we'll just kind of pull the rug out from under you when you least expect it. I don't like that because that is hurting the trust between you and the hardcore fans. Because when Jim Ryan, and we're going to talk about this as well, when he talks about the idea that they're never going to take the Game Pass model and they're never going to do that for the PlayStation brand, how do I know I can believe you? How do I know I can believe you now? Right? It's not good. Now, I'm not jumping that far out there. Okay. But I think at the very least, Jim Ryan should have talked a little bit more and it provided some type of explanation. If they decided that it was just a decision they made at the last moment and they apologized for potentially misleading fans, okay, you apologized about the pre orders as you should, which is fine. And, that's a great thing for you to do. You need to acknowledge the cross-gen thing. You have to. LSSJT, you're saying no pre-order for me. I am forever sad, infinitely forever until I inevitably get one. Totally understand where you're coming from, man. I would be pretty upset if I couldn't get one as well. The Wonderful Gaming Co., you're saying PlayStation and Microsoft differ in their cross-gen stances. Microsoft committed to 0 Xbox Series X exclusives for 2 years. PS5 has put only 2 on PS4, both likely to have started on PS4. Fearful Tuna, MBG, did you ever play Final Fantasy VII Remake? And if you did, what do you think about it? If not, what's been your game of the year so far? Fearful Tuna, I'll get to that in a second, but the Wonderful Gaming Co., you are correct about that. That is I tried to explain this in my video talking about it. There is still a stark contrast between the direction that Microsoft and Sony are going in, even with their cross-gen games. Sony has not backed away from having PS5 only exclusives. They still do, and they still will. I think the big question is God of War going to be cross-gen? I'll talk about that in a little bit. And you are correct in saying that both of these games likely started development on the PS4, but you could say the same thing about Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls not being on PS4, in my opinion, is the clearest and most obvious evidence that Sony will still, for sure, have PS5 only exclusives, but Ratchet and Clank is another. But Demon's Souls, come on. You're going to try to tell me a PS3 remake couldn't run on the PS4? No, it could, but they're making it PS5 only to show you that they still do believe in console-only exclusives. So I do agree that Microsoft did not show that. Again, Microsoft did not prove to me, and they still have not proven to me, why I shouldn't be concerned about cross-gen. If anything, Sony proved that to me, at least with the way games are going to look, right, and play. Fearful Tuna, I have not played Final Fantasy VII Remake yet. I know I said I was going to, but I really fell off of it. It's just difficult for me because Final Fantasy is a series that I've never been into, and I see the hype surrounding a game like that, but I don't want to force it. You know what I mean? I don't want to ever force myself to play something I just really am not fully committed to playing, and I know that I'm just probably going to fall off it. But for me, my game of the year so far, I don't know. I can't answer that. I would have to go back and look at everything I played this year, and I'll have to get back to you on that. But yeah, I feel like Jim Ryan really does deserve, and Sony for that matter, he deserves a lot of heat for this because he just kind of blew it off and he made it sound like, yeah, I mean, sure, PlayStation 4 fans and people who are on PS4 and have no intention of upgrading anytime soon, of course they should be happy about that news. But let's be honest, man, like, why now? Like, why couldn't you have just made it clear from day one with, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Horizon that these games were going to be PS4 games? The fact you couldn't do that and you made that last minute decision to just kind of drop that bomb on everybody, like, why would you do that? Like, how did you think that was going to go down? Did you think it was just going to be okay? And this is where I do wonder, like, is Jim Ryan, is Sony becoming a little bit too much where they think, oh, we could just drop this news, no problem, and nobody's going to care? Like, no, dude, people are going to care, and they have every right to care because you're breaking the trust that you've, spent so many years establishing with your hardcore community. I mean, just acknowledge the fact that it was dropped abruptly and acknowledge the fact and own up to the fact that your marketing was kind of misleading. Like, it really was. If you can do that, then fine, we can forgive you, no problem. But I think that's the issue here is it's not that we have a problem with the games themselves. It's the communication and the way they're going about it. Like, you got to be better than that. Devon, you're saying, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly, by the way. You're saying sucks that the PS5 is not backwards compatible with PS1, 2, and 3 games. Yeah, it is what it is, but I'm gonna be honest when I say that I don't think really that many people at all are buying a PS5 or would buy a PS5 to play those games. I mean, it would be nice for it to be there, but I really do think that the overwhelming majority, if not pretty much all people buying a PS5, it's for the new games, and the fact that PS4 backwards compatibility is there, I think, means a lot to a lot of people, and that's really the important part. So, I want to move on from that, and I want to talk about Jim Ryan and his thoughts on Game Pass. So, guys, make sure you hit that like button. We are almost at 600 likes. Let's see if we can get it to 700. Likes really help the podcast out. It helps get it out there to people who are not yet aware of this podcast, and really, it just goes a long way. So hit that like button. But Jim Ryan also talked about Xbox Game Pass and the model that Microsoft is really banking on. And he did confirm that Sony will be not going down that road. So I'm actually going to read the entire excerpt from gamesindustry.biz because this is pretty important, honestly. This is something that I think we do need to pay attention to. And, I understand that there are going to be some people who say, I don't care what Jim Ryan has to say. I'm never listening to him again. He's a liar. I totally understand. But let's be completely clear about something here. There is a massive difference between Sony completely uprooting and overhauling and changing their entire philosophy and approach to game development, and more specifically, how they're going to release their games, versus they maybe kind of hid the fact that some of their games were going to be cross-gen and they just dropped it at the last moment. There is a big difference there. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying you need to understand that when we talk about this. So let's read the excerpt. PlayStation chief Jim Ryan is acutely aware of Microsoft's emerging strategy. Since we last spoke to Ryan, his counterpart at Xbox, Phil Spencer, made comments that played down the generational switch, arguing that it was counter to what gaming is all about, to force gamers to buy my specific device. I'm actually starting to think that I know this is super unprofessional. I'm starting to think I actually grabbed the wrong quote here. Give me a second to read over this. So, wow, okay. So this was actually a huge mistake on my part. I actually grabbed the wrong quote. This was games industry. Oh man, I look like a wow. Okay. So this was actually a gamesindustry.biz article from earlier in the year, and when I had actually copy and pasted this quote, my fault for rushing, I guess. I was not aware that this was the quote from earlier, not the one from more recently, which is unfortunate. So I don't know if I should try to bring it up now live, or if I should just try to recall what I read. Spacebar, one thing I've noticed with streaming platforms, they're never profitable in the short term. Netflix just netted a profit in 2018. I wonder how long Microsoft is willing to take the loss. Well, we know they have the money to take the loss. So give me one sec, guys. I'll just bring it up on my phone. I'm sure I can find it very quickly here. Let me see. Jim Ryan Game Pass. I should be able to find it relatively quickly. I do apologize. Normally I don't make a mistake like this, but it happens. Oyakarumi, you're saying it is kind of messed up that PlayStation misled us, but they always seem to catch themselves, unlike Xbox, who've been lying to us for years, but it was still wrong on Sony's part. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing here is I'm not going to be ridiculous and make it sound like, what Jim Ryan, the way he approached this situation, that suddenly that undoes everything good that Sony has done and is still doing. No, that's ridiculous. But they still do need to be held accountable. And my big concern is Sony, Jim Ryan, please don't go down that road when it comes to kind of just playing with your fans that way. When we talk about transparency, this is where it really kind of needs to play the most vital role, where it's be transparent with your user base. Let them know that some games will be PS5 only, others will not be. You do that from the start, no harm, no foul. It's fine, right? You don't do that, you mislead people, make them believe that every game's going to be PS5 only, and then literally at the last minute say, oh, but half these games actually aren't. How is that going to be perceived? Check your Twitter, MBG. I sent you the article. Okay, thank you so much for that, buddy. Let me see if I can find it really quickly here. See, sometimes with Twitter, I don't always get notified with the stuff that people send me, unfortunately, because there's just always so much going on. Because even though you sent me that, there's like a bunch of other people also sending me a bunch of other stuff. Um, okay, I'm seeing a bunch of different stuff. So just give me one moment here. I'm gonna bring it up. I might have to do it myself. Jim Ryan. Here we go. Got it right here. I don't think this is the original source, but PlayStation has no plans to offer a Game Pass type subscription service. So let me see if I can find the quotes. All right, here we go. So Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO and President Jim Ryan does not agree with that model. For us, having a catalog of games is not something that defines a platform. This is what Ryan said in an interview with GamesIndustry.biz. Our pitch, as you've heard, as I let that drive by, our pitch, as you've heard, is new games, great games. We have had this conversation before. We are not going to go down that road of putting new released titles into a subscription model. These games cost many millions of dollars, well over $100 million to develop. We just don't see that being sustainable. He goes on to say, we want to make games bigger and better and hopefully at some stage more persistent. So putting those into a subscription model on day one for us just does not make any sense. For others in a different situation, it might well make sense, but for us, it doesn't. We want to expand and grow our existing ecosystem, and putting new games into a subscription model just doesn't sit with that. So, I mean, he's being very candid here. And I actually do appreciate, like, the way he's talking about Game Pass is the way he should be talking about, the cross-gen thing, honestly. But he's just flat out saying it's not sustainable for them. And this is incredibly interesting. And I think not enough people are focusing on what he's saying here, as my voice just cracks there. Because the big thing that a lot of people have been saying, like, how can we expect Microsoft to bring out these huge budget AAA titles, anything that's even remotely close to games like Cyberpunk or what we see coming from Sony, right? Like just these massive games, and then still somehow make a profit, which at the end of the day, that is what Microsoft is trying to achieve, as well as Sony, by putting them in a subscription service where you can access these big games for just $10. And so it has led a lot of people to believe that the quality is naturally inevitably going to be reduced, because the two things don't go hand in hand. They just don't line up. And it's interesting to hear Jim Ryan basically confirm this. This isn't just an armchair analyst saying this. This isn't me saying this. This isn't anybody else on the internet saying, let me tell you why it's not sustainable. No, this is one of the biggest publishers, game publishers in the world. And granted, it is in Sony's best interest to explain why this model wouldn't work for them, because it really downplays the potential ambitions that their competition has with their games. But it's interesting because we're getting kind of confirmation from one of the biggest, if not the biggest game publisher in the world with their studios, of a couple of things here. The first is he's just flat out saying, yeah, we're not doing that because we don't imagine that we can make enough money to sustain the type of games that we want to continue to make off of that business model. Now, that flies directly in the face of Microsoft, and if anything, it kind of just reaffirms a lot of what I've been saying, where I have been saying that, look, I just don't believe Microsoft, Microsoft as a freaking, I swallow something clearly. Hold on. If I could just go one podcast without having something weird like that happen. But I don't believe Microsoft. I really don't. I think that Microsoft wants to convince us that they can have games as big and, quadruple A with, like, come on. Like, you want me to believe you're going to put, well, you know what? Then again, guys, I got to say, then again, you know, Microsoft has apparently invested more money than ever before in the development of Halo Infinite. So I'm not saying that Microsoft isn't willing to put the money into it, but again, like, what are you going to get out of it? And that's the important thing here. So, Brandon, you're saying, I believe quality deserves compensation. 100%. I agree with you 100%. I am a huge believer in, paying for something that is of quality. um, but I just, I think it's interesting because he also mentioned something that Jim Ryan also mentions here that I think is certainly worth paying attention to if you do care about AAA games, if you do care about single player games, and if you do care about Sony's games. He says they plan to put even more money into their games. They plan to make them even bigger and even better. And they do not feel comfortable at all pursuing that while simultaneously saying, we're going to put it on a subscription service. I know that, I had to give Jim Ryan a lot of flack. It's not like everything Jim Ryan has said in these interviews is terrible or the worst. This is one, in my opinion, really important thing that we need to highlight because I agree 100%. Whether or not he's maybe pushing it a little bit, but as somebody did mention in one of the super chats earlier, it does take a very, very long time for these subscription-based models to turn a profit. And granted, when they do, it can be a pretty, good profit, but there's no guarantee. And Netflix is a good example of that. I mean, it worked out for them. And so, Microsoft is in the beginning phases of really kind of pursuing that model. And so, let them pursue it. But for me, when it comes to Microsoft's approach with Game Pass, it may sound a little bit arrogant of me, but prove it. Like that's my whole thing. Like just prove it. Show me that you're actually going to make high quality AAA games that are going to be there day one on Game Pass. Like prove to me that it is sustainable is what I'm trying to say. Prove to me, because I see, when we talk about, the conversations between Xbox fans and PlayStation fans, and I'm not trying to focus on the toxic ones here, but they get toxic no matter what. A lot of the conversation is from the Xbox side of things is don't worry. They've confirmed that they're still making a lot of AAA titles, and these AAA titles will be big. They will be massive in size, scale, and scope, and the quality is going to be through the roof. But yeah, like you could argue that there are a few examples so far when it comes to Game Pass. Like, the Outer Worlds, but let's be honest, that game started development before they were part of Microsoft. So I guess, maybe we could count that. But I think about like Forza Horizon, or was it Forza Horizon 4? I think that was on Game Pass. I played that game and I can confirm that, like, yeah, that's a quality AAA game that it is surprising to see something like that in a $10 subscription service. But let's be honest, guys, like, do we really believe for a second that the next Forza, that being Forza Motorsport, not 8, just Forza Motorsport, it's not going to be a service game? It is, and it's going to be persistent, and that's fine, but we're not talking about the Halos, the Gears, and the Forzas. Like, we already know those 3 IP from Microsoft are going to be quality because they have to be, because they were already high quality. You can't go back. I'm talking about the new stuff, like what is the quality of Avowed really going to be? I expect it to be high, and it looks like it has the potential. A lot of people are saying this is basically going to be the next Skyrim. Now, I don't know about that, but it's possible, and we're going to find out. What about a game like State of Decay 3? That, in my opinion, that IP has so much potential, but we have yet to see that potential fulfilled. If anything, it does make sense for games like State of Decay 1 and 2 to be made for subscription services, but they're saying that State of Decay 3 is going to be even bigger. What about Fable, right? These games that they have to prove themselves. That's the thing about Microsoft, is they still have to prove themselves. And so if this model really is sustainable in the long run, and Microsoft really does believe that they can find a healthy blend of AAA games, AA games, as well as indie games, and put them into a subscription service day one for everybody to access for just $10, and that can be sustainable for the long run, and eventually in the long run give Sony a run for their money, then sure, But where I'm sitting right now, based off of what I've seen and what I know, especially after seeing Halo Infinite, I'm sorry, I have to bring it up. I'm totally okay with paying $70 for Demon Souls. I'm totally okay with paying $50 for Spider-Man Miles Morales. And I'm going to be totally okay with paying $70 for Ratchet and Clank and God of War and Horizon and all these other exclusives that we know are going to be coming because they scream quality. I have trust in Sony there where it's like I know that their studios are gonna they're not gonna screw it up. And so Lee Bull, you're saying let's be real, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 or Horizon Forbidden West, etc. on PS4 makes no difference. The day one buyers would have been in on day one anyway. PS, did you play Hellblade? If not, why? I did play Hellblade. I loved Hellblade, and that's a game right there. Like Hellblade 2, how AAA is it going to be? Granted, I think it'll be a great game no matter what. A game doesn't need to be AAA to be great. I'm not trying to say that, but there's no doubt Microsoft needs more of those bigger AAA titles. But Hellblade 2, I'm very excited for sure, and I enjoyed it. And you're not wrong about people being there day one. William Knight, you're saying, I still think this is why Sony will continue to get third-party timed exclusives. The developers can sell their games for full price through Sony and PC, then have them added to Game Pass 6 months to 1 year later. Yeah, that is a really good point you bring up there, William Knight. It's very likely that that is a huge incentive for third parties. And I've seen some people that are very, very upset about the price hike. And it seems like in Europe, Sony may actually be pushing it a little far with they're announcing games are going to be 80 euros. Now, I can't speak to that because I'm not very familiar with, how, I don't know if that's fair or not. It does sound pretty expensive. I don't know if that's like the equivalent basically of games being $80 here in the US. That would be pushing it. So I've seen some people very upset about that. But speaking to the $70, look, everybody should have seen this coming a mile away. The chances that next gen games were going to remain at the $60 price point, very low. Yeah, you're saying, yup, 80 euros is 95 USD. Yeah, that's rough. I mean, I do feel sorry, and I do think that maybe, I don't know, man, maybe that's Sony taking advantage of the European market a little bit, but I want to ask you guys, honestly, for any of my European listeners right now, how do you feel about paying that amount for these games? Because for me, I'm going to be completely honest with you right now. And I'm not saying I want them to, and they won't. I'm just saying, for me personally, if Sony said Demon Souls is $80, I'm going to pay that $80 because I know for a fact that that's a game I do not want to miss out on. And I do feel as though that even though it is pricey, damn, $80 is a lot. I'm going to be like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's quality. That's the quality I will pay $80 for. To whereas if Microsoft was trying to charge me $80 for something like Halo Infinite, I'm going to be like, nah, man, I'm gonna not pay $80 for that game based off of what we've seen so far. But that's just me, and I don't expect everybody to have that mentality. I'm just saying that I am a firm believer in paying for quality. I have no problem, but I do understand that there is a limit, and a lot of people do not have that type of money, and so it does bring up the question, how many people are now going to wait for certain games to be on sale versus how many people are going to just be okay. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, look, from where I'm sitting, a $10 price hike, and again, I know it's not $10 for everybody, but at least for me, and I'm thankful that it's not any more than $10. To me, that's not make or break. If it was $20, I could totally understand how for the majority of people are like, no, I'm gonna wait until it's on sale, or I'm just not gonna buy. I get that. For me, $10 is not make or break. It never has been, and it never really will be. Seeing the quality of some of these games, I'm okay with that. Wildlife, PS5 will be my last gen of gaming. Prices are crazy. Yeah, I can understand that, man. I mean, this is maybe where, you do start to, I will admit, the price hike of games does start to add to the appeal of something like Game Pass. But again, you really have to kind of think about the difference between what are you getting in Game Pass. Yes, it is a lot of games, but how many of those games, would you feel better paying $70 or 80 euros for one game, such as Demon Souls or Horizon or the next God of War or Ratchet and Clank? Would you feel better? Would you get more from that single purchase than you would of, say, subscribing to Game Pass for 8 months or something like that, or 9 months. That's for each person to determine for themselves. Me personally, again, based off of what I've seen from Game Pass, yeah, no, I'm gonna feel much more comfortable paying that one-time high price for something that I know, even if I just play it for a month straight, I know I'm gonna get a hell of a lot out of that game for that single month, and that's gonna matter to me more than anything. Okay, Kapapa, you're saying the difference comes from taxes. We have much higher VAT. PS5 is 430 euros where I live. Okay, that does make sense. Yeah, I'm not too, familiar with all of this, but exactly. Quality over quantity. That's what I care about more than anything. It doesn't mean I'm going to be okay with paying $70 for every single, okay, here's a good example. That game Destruction All-Stars, which is a PS5 exclusive. Do you guys know about that game? I cannot sit here and say that I feel comfortable paying $70 for that game. Mainly because to me, that does not scream like a game that is worth $70. Now, it very well could be. I would have to look into it. But, you know, looking at a game like Demon Souls Remake versus a game like Destruction All Stars, both being priced at $70, if I were to watch a trailer for both of them back to back, I'm going to right off the bat say, well, if there's any game here that looks like it will be more worth that $70 purchase, it's gonna be it's gonna be Demon Souls. MBG should apologize to Microsoft and Phil Spencer for his harsh negativity towards the cross-gen games after Sony's first-party games are now cross-gen. Look, I will admit that I was harsh, but I don't feel as though I can apologize yet because again, I have to emphasize, buddy, that what has Microsoft shown me to convince me that I shouldn't condemn them for cross-gen? What have they shown me? Just because Sony showed me something that made me feel a lot more confident in cross-gen games doesn't mean I should apologize to Microsoft. I'm not going to apologize to them. If anything, they should apologize to me for making me genuinely that concerned after seeing Halo Infinite. Come on now. True Witty, when do you think the second wave of pre-orders are? Probably in the next week or two, I would assume. You got to be on high alert if you're still looking for that. Oyakarumi, you're saying, did you see Inside Gaming that Xbox said that they don't need exclusives? So where does that put Halo? Yeah, I did see that. In my opinion, that's just a really, really unnecessary. Look, to me, it comes off as an unnecessary thing to say, but it's not the least bit surprising. Let's be honest here, guys. Microsoft made it clear that they do not need exclusives to sell Xbox consoles because they don't care about selling the Xbox console. It's still going to sell at first, but long term, we're going to see. We're going to see long term just how important exclusive games really are to these consoles because there's no doubt the PS5 is going to sell like crazy. And even the Xbox is going to get off to a very strong sales start. But you're talking about the long game here. 3-4 years into the generation, what is the lineup of Sony's exclusives going to look like? Something tells me it's going to be the strongest ever. And I think I saw an analyst recently say that they believe the PlayStation 5 has the potential to hit the 200 million sales milestone. Now, do I think that's likely? No. However, is it impossible? No. I think if Sony is dead serious, just look at the first year. Guys, think about the first year of the PS5's games lineup without thinking about third party. You're talking about first party exclusives, second party exclusives, third party exclusives, and even timed exclusives. I've never seen a lineup this strong for the first year. I mean, if God of War really does make that 2021 date alongside Horizon Forbidden West, that makes you think, my God, what else does Sony have in the works right now for 2022 and 2023 and beyond? Something tells me this is going to be the best generation we've ever seen when it comes to content from Sony and exclusives. And if it really is as strong as we imagine or as I'm anticipating, I could see the PS5 surpass everybody's expectations. I'm telling you, because you're talking about must-have games here. And I know exclusives don't matter to everybody, but I'm sure most of you know by now what the trickle effect is, and I think it is a real thing. Jim Ryan is PlayStation's Don Matrick. No. Not at all. Look, see, that's where I think people are getting a little bit extreme. Like, is Jim Ryan perfect? No. Does he have some explaining to do? Yes, but to compare him to Don Matrick, come on, man. It's not like this dude's out here like, with the PS5, we need to put a focus on the living room and sports and a camera and the PlayStation camera. Like, no, come on. He's not out here telling people like, oh, if you want, if you don't have internet, we have a console for you, the PS4. Like, no, it's not that serious. Jacob, you're saying it's an okay price. The only problem is that I live in Sweden and the PS5 is 6,000 crowns here. And if we even the crowns with dollars, that's $600. Yeah, that is rough. It is unfortunate that other people around the world do have to pay more, but I feel like that's just kind of the way it's always been, right? It's hard for me to speak to that, and I feel for it though, because I'll tell you, like, it would suck if everybody in the U.S. had to pay $600 for a PS5. I wouldn't, that would suck. If I knew I had to pay $600 here, but other places they're paying like 400 or 500, yeah, it's always disappointing. But yeah, just to kind of circle around and I guess finish off this topic. Look, guys, I know that people are going to be like, I don't believe Jim Ryan. How do I know that tomorrow he's not going to take the Game Pass model? You have to think rationally here. As I said, there is a major contrast between Jim Ryan and Sony's marketing hiding the fact that some of these games are going to be cross-gen versus completely uprooting your entire philosophy and your model around how you develop and put out games. If this were to change, it would certainly not be overnight, but I'm happy about these comments, man. And I'm glad to hear Jim Ryan saying this, because Jim Ryan could be saying something else. He could be saying, well, it's something we may experiment with going forward. Like, no, he's just flat out like, dude, our games are big. We're planning on making them even bigger and better. We think they're worth the money, that people pay for them. And yeah, like, that's straight up what he's saying, and that we're not doing a subscription-based model. And if you look at what Sony was doing, if you like, what's fascinating to me? How many of you, and I'm going to be interested to see your responses on this, how many of you believed that by this point in time, Sony would have talked much more about PlayStation Now? Because I'll tell you, I thought that was going to happen. I thought we were going to hear way more about PlayStation Now. We kept assuming that Sony was going to put this big emphasis on it, but we haven't heard literally like anything about it, And even during the last event, I thought we were going to hear about it. And when they were talking about PlayStation Plus, when they announced the PlayStation Plus collection, I thought that was going to have something to do with PlayStation Now, but it doesn't. It's completely separate. Also, just to speak to the PlayStation Plus collection, I'm going to drop something here that not many people are talking about, but I have seen some people in my comment sections mentioning it. And after thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? That is a good point. How come nobody's talking about the fact that the deal and the value you get with the PlayStation Plus collection for a single month, it's the same price as Game Pass? You could argue it's an even better value, because while you do get 100 plus games with Game Pass, let's evaluate the situation here. You look at the PlayStation Plus collection. Assuming somebody hasn't played the vast majority of the games that are in the PS Plus collection, look at that value. Imagine if you're somebody who completely missed out on this generation of gaming. You decided you're coming back with the PS5. True Witty, you're saying I missed your super chat. I'll look it up first real quick here. No, I think I got your super chat, buddy. You said, when do I think a second wave of PS5 pre-orders are going to be available? I think I said maybe in the next week or two. I think, you should be on the lookout for that. But I want you to think about, the value of all the games that are on offer with a PS Plus subscription for 1 month for $10, and you look at those games. They're all like AAA games. They're all big games, and they're huge exclusives as well. And a lot of those games I consider must play. Like, some of those are like, they're must play games. Now, the thing is, it's hard to make that comparison because, like, sure, Game Pass has way more games, but I mean, I don't know. I guess it's interesting because it seems that Sony, even with their offerings with their services, like, This is Sony's way to try to really pump up the value of PlayStation Plus. And yes, the PS Plus collection is not a Game Pass offering. It's not trying to compete with Game Pass, but you look at you just look at the value of those games, and they're pretty good. And if you haven't played the majority of those games, I'll tell you, like, that's a crazy value for $10 getting access to all those games. You're saying PS fans butt hurt if games go to PC. Well, yeah, I mean, like, we're not trying to see Sony just suddenly take their entire catalog and IP and just throw it on PC. I mean, if they want to put some games on, sure, but you got it. In my opinion, if you have a console that you're trying to sell, you have to always have at least some games that are just on that console to really give that console the value it needs and it deserves, to allow it to stand on its own and not kind of be pushed to the background. Joshua Reese, you're saying MBG, will we get a secret launch game revealed soon? Okay, so let me talk about that for a moment. That's something I didn't talk too much about after the event. The games that we were all anticipating but didn't get. I haven't even really talked about the event here. I think the event was strong. And I think, like, now that I've had time to kind of really sit on it, I think it's actually stronger than some people were giving it credit for. Granted, there were some, third parties there that, it maybe brought the expectation of the show down as we were watching it unfold, but they had the critical and important announcements that they needed. They showed gameplay of Spider-Man Miles Morales, which looked amazing. They showed gameplay of Demon's Souls, which for me was the absolute highlight. And we found out both of those games are launch titles. They revealed that Harry Potter game, which, guys, that trailer has like over 6 million views, almost 7 million views on the PlayStation channel. People are hyped for that Harry Potter game, man. Like, I can't believe how many views that has on their channel. And they showed off some smaller stuff as well, but they ended it with the PS5 pricing, the release date, and I think they nailed both of those things. And they also revealed their teased God of War. And to me, that was like the big, like, okay, clincher moment. Like, you got this in the bag for sure. But then a lot of not so great news started to come out after the event. And I think that really took away from the event itself. Devon, you're saying, I disagree with you. I think Xbox Game Pass is a better value. You get 100 plus games for console and PC, Gold, xCloud, and EA Play for $15 a month. Yeah, okay, I guess when you put it that way, yeah, I can see why a lot of people would still think Game Pass is the better value, because there's no denying that is a lot. You get a lot there for just $15, so can't argue with that. I think we can agree that they're both good values in their own right. But yeah, Game Pass, when you put it that way, it does offer a lot. Mad GFX, you're saying MBG, imagine PS5 plus VR2 plus Cyberpunk 2077 next year. Yeah, that would be a crazy combo, man. That would be a crazy combo. But, just to talk about the games that were not revealed, you guys know I was holding out hope for Metal Gear Solid. I knew it was a pipe dream. I told you guys it was a pipe dream. We didn't see it. We didn't see Mark Cerny's game either. So here's something that's very interesting that I want you guys to think about. On this channel for the past year and a half, we've covered a lot of rumors. We've covered a lot of leaks. We've covered a lot of insiders. There's one that stands out to me right now. Although Moore's Law is dead, I don't think he calls himself an insider, but he makes it clear he has contacts that, he relays this information from, and he usually waits to see if it's legit. This dude was he was the only one that straight up, in my opinion, was like 100% correct. He said that God of War is coming in 2021, and it's most likely going to be revealed at the next event or before the end of the year. And even when people were like, dude, like, we're still not hearing anything, like, really? 2021? No way, man. He doubled down. He's like, no, my source, they're legit. Trust me, it's happening. And what happened? He was on the money. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning him, and, I seem to frequently mention him, so keep giving him a shout out. He creates good content for sure. If you think back to the other stuff he had to say, he said that there's another secret launch game, and this is where I have to really, I just don't, look, maybe at one point the game maybe he was talking about Demon Souls. That could have been it. But at this point, there's not going to be a secret launch game. Okay, I say that because Sony has their launch lineup laid out. Devon, you're saying no Silent Hill at the event, huh? Yeah, I think Silent Hill's still real, but like unless Sony's just like willing to do something insane that's never been done before, which is possible, just highly, highly, highly unlikely, the chances of them announcing a game suddenly that is going to be there at the launch of the PS5 that we don't know about, no, it's not going to happen. What I think is likely, if it was true, is that they realized we don't actually need this at the launch, and it would maybe be more beneficial to release it later on, maybe like early 2021, mid 2021. A lot of people believe that this secret launch game was SOCOM, which, yeah, that's a possibility. Like, we do need to understand that Guerrilla Games, they have a second team working on a game. We don't know what it is. It's been widely speculated and guessed that it's SOCOM. Could be another Killzone, could be something entirely, could be some type of Horizon multiplayer game that we don't know about. So that's still a real thing. And, that very well could have been the game that they were like at the last minute, you know what? Let's hold off and make it a 2021 title. Because, guys, look at Sony's competition right now from Microsoft at launch. There is no competition. I'm sorry, there is none. Microsoft does not have a launch lineup that is even worth mentioning. And I know people are like, but Scorn and Tetris, and I'm just like, fine. Like, if you want to be excited for those games, be excited. Gears Tactics, okay, game that's already out. An RTS, sorry. Like, Microsoft doesn't hold a candle to Sony's lineup. It just doesn't. So it wouldn't surprise me if Sony maybe had that. Let's say it was SOCOM. It wouldn't surprise me if Sony had that ready to go to counter potentially in some way, Halo Infinite. But we saw what happened, and maybe Sony was like, you know what, let's just tuck this away for now. It doesn't, give you more time on the game. The insider known as Tidix, if you believe him, he said recently on Twitter that Sony still has one more cross-gen PS4 and PS5 exclusive to announce before that will be releasing before the end of next year. So that could be anything. That could be Silent Hill. That could be SOCOM. That could be The Last of Us multiplayer. But I'm just mentioning Moore's Law is Dead one more time because he said, from what his sources told him, if there's a game that you suspect might be in development exclusively at PlayStation, it most likely is. That's how many games they currently have in development. And they have, like, the way he put it is they're sitting on a mountain of exclusives, and it's just a matter of when they want to reveal them, when they want to announce them. And the reason why I believe this is not only because he was dead on correct about he was dead on correct about God of War, but look at Sony's first year lineup, like I keep emphasizing. Look at how strong it is. Look at not just the quality, but we're literally seeing a culmination of quantity and quality, which is insane. So I believe it. Siler18, you're saying God of War releasing in 2021 is kind of early and makes me believe development took place on the PS4 and it probably will be cross-gen or delayed, in my opinion. I'll talk about that in just one second. Enrico, you're saying, I am looking forward to the console teardown. I thought it would happen much sooner before the pre-orders. I hope we get to see it in early October. Guys, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up because I do not anticipate that I am correct in this guess, because that's all it is a guess. But it would not surprise me if Sony is planning some type of October event, maybe nothing as major, but something that does feature a teardown, the UI, and it wouldn't surprise me at all, guys, if Sony decided to save one more big announcement for October game-wise, because they realize, surely they are self-aware enough to know, they had to have known that there was going to be some backlash, at the very least with the cross-gen news. So maybe in order to correct that and really kind of, bring them back up on top as if nothing ever happened, is maybe they decided to save a big game reveal for October. I'm not saying I believe that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if it did. It's just an assumption, just a guess. I'm just speculating. But Siler, when it comes to God of War, the question as to whether or not God of War is going to be cross-gen, I'm going to be honest right now. I would be incredibly disappointed if it was, because I feel like God of War, and I think this is why so many people are so disappointed about Horizon Forbidden West being cross-gen, is, Spider-Man, we understand. It's a smaller game. It's not DLC. It's a standalone, but it's a smaller game, and it was developed in a very short period of time. When it comes to a game like Horizon, and same with God of War, people are really hoping that these are going to be the games that push the PS5 to its limit, to where we can see things done that are only possible on the PS5 because it's only releasing on the PS5. Now, Horizon is a great example of this because, I believe it was said that we couldn't ride a Stormbird or is that what they're called? What are they called, guys? The birds. I think that's what they're called, the Stormbird in Horizon. We couldn't ride it and we couldn't fly it because of the limitations of the PlayStation 4 Pro and the PlayStation 4 hardware. Now, so help me if I can't ride one in the PS5 Horizon version of Horizon Forbidden West, I'm going to be frustrated, because that's literally Sony, based off of what their developer said, admitting that, that's something that they could have done, that they would have liked to have done, but they couldn't due to hardware limitations, that we're going to have to expect that. Like, should we expect that with Forbidden West? I don't. I want to see two different versions of the game developed. Like, if they can basically develop two different versions of the game where one version is like kind of stripped down in some major ways, maybe even some features are removed because of it, but we do see that show up on the PS5, then at that point, I wouldn't care about cross-gen development at all. Like, if Sony's basically willing to make two different versions of their game for the sake of, maximizing potential sales, but we know for a fact that the PS5 version is really doing everything that it needs to do, I'd be more than happy with that. I wouldn't be upset about cross-gen at all, but we don't know that for a fact. What we do know is that, Guerrilla Games said that they couldn't allow us to ride or fly in that game due to hardware limitations. So if I can't fly on a Stormbird, if I can't ride one, in Forbidden West, then I can only assume at that point that the game was actually held back to a certain extent. And I don't want to see that, Who knows, though? Maybe this was the plan all along. Like, and I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just saying maybe the plan was, Sony really was planning on releasing Horizon Forbidden West on the PlayStation 4 and the third game, because we have to understand, I believe there was a prominent rumor that came out from VGC a while ago that said Horizon is planned to be a trilogy. Maybe the third game was the one that's supposed to be like the game that pushes the boundaries with the PS5. I'm just saying, we don't know. And this is where it would be nice for Sony to kind of, let us know more about this. I'm not justifying it. Look, if there's, some features that seem like they're clearly being held back, or there's just, if we can't fly a damn Stormbird, in the sequel, then I'm going to be upset, and I'm going to call Sony out and be like, guys, what the hell? Come on. Like, you literally said that yourself. If we can, then I'm going to assume, okay, maybe there's no problem with the cross-gen stuff here. God of War, on the other hand, I'm going to be real right now. If God of War's cross-gen, I'm going to be pretty upset with Sony. Regardless of whether or not development started on the PS4, because in my opinion, God of War, now I'm not a developer, and I'm not going to sit here and even remotely try to dictate or make it sound like I know what's best for the next God of War game, because I don't. But based off of what I played in the original game, or, the PS4 version of, the God of War reboot or soft reboot, to me, this seems like a game that is really prime. Like, it's a prime game to, like, again, I'm not a developer, but I have to imagine if I was, this is a game where it's like, maybe we can really do some crazy stuff between the different realms, realm tears, and just big epic battles at high speeds over large areas, where maybe when you are having those big epic battles flying in it, you're on the dragon and you're having that big epic fight. Maybe we don't have to zoom in so much to where you can't see anything else beyond the dragon because there's nothing else there, because it can't be loaded in. Maybe it's actually zoomed out a little bit, kind of like the past games, but you're going insane speeds. You're seeing the entire world load. Like it's not even, it's just there, right? Like I'm talking just like seeing a game that scope is beyond anything we could have imagined on the PS4. Now, granted, because it is hitting that 2021 release date, there's no doubt that development has, been going on for some time, presumably since, considering how soon it's going to come out, development clearly began as soon as the first game finished up. But I just think that there's another reason on top of this beyond my selfish reasoning. Like, I just want to see the game pushed to its limits. I want to see the PS5 allow things to be done in the God of War sequel that, just can't be done anywhere else. Beyond that, I think there's another reason Sony would want to ensure this is a PS5 only game. I'll tell you that in 1 second. We have Culture Kiwi. You're saying, MBG, don't you think that God of War was way too successful for Ragnarok to be PS5 exclusive? I'm almost certain that it will be on PS4 and PS5. Yeah, there's two sides to that coin. That actually plays into what I was going to say. Look, can we all agree right now that if God of War Ragnarok, which, let me say this first, do we even know that this is a full-blown sequel? Look, I know I'm bringing up an odd question here, but has it been confirmed that this is the full-blown sequel? How do we know this isn't kind of like a Miles Morales situation and that the full-blown sequel to God of War isn't coming later? We don't know. And as far as I know, we don't know for sure. However, I think we are all assuming it is the full-blown sequel, right? We're all safely assuming it is. If it wasn't, I would have to imagine that would be the first thing that Sony would explicitly confirm to set expectations and let everybody know. iSiler18, you're saying, I think the problem here is Xbox set the standard for scaling down between generations doesn't work well with the atrocity of Craig. Sony is proving otherwise. Yeah, dude, iSiler, we are going to talk more. And this is where I might not be able to do a Q&A today, unfortunately. Again, I know that it's becoming a recurring theme, but there's a lot more I want to talk about, and I do not want this podcast to run too long because I do have some important stuff I have to do today and take care of that is revolving around a time frame. So I may have to cut the Q&A, but we have to talk, and we're going to talk about some things regarding development on the PS5 that were said recently. But before I get into that, guys, I want to finish this point here where you could look, there's two sides to the coin here. You could argue that God of War was so successful, it sold so well, just like Horizon, just like Spider-Man, that there's no way Sony's going to want to pass up the opportunity to sell this game in spades, just sell it in huge numbers on the PS4 and PS5. But the other side of the coin is this. Can we all agree that if God of War Ragnarok is in fact the full-blown sequel, which I think it is, and if it's actually going to release in 2021, can we all agree that it's going to be holiday 2021 or late 2021? There's no way Horizon Forbidden West is going to come out later than God of War Ragnarok. It's just not going to happen due to just development timelines. iSiler18, you're saying that's another reason of how 2021 for God of War is too early. It could very well be an Uncharted Lost Legacy deal. It's possible, but I don't think that's the case simply because Cory Barlog did say that he was planning on doing a DLC, but it was so big and so ambitious that it's basically another game and it can't really be justified as even a standalone DLC. That's kind of the impression I got, but I'm assuming it's a full-blown sequel, but I see everybody here is mostly agreeing with me saying it's going to be, it's going to be holiday 2021, right? Now, if you were in Sony's position and you called the shots here, we know that there's going to be somewhat, we don't know to what degree, but we know there's going to be somewhat of a PlayStation 5 shortage between now and most likely March 2021, maybe even a little bit beyond that, April. The demand is higher than it's ever been. Believe me, I think the PS5 is going to be the fastest selling console ever, potentially, but certainly PlayStation. I believe that. The demand is insane. Oyakarumi is saying, don't be such a downer. Yeah, no, I'm not being a downer. I don't care what the next God of War is, man. It's going to blow everybody away. But, yeah, Um, Delora, or if I'm saying your name correctly, but you hit the nail on the head. They need a system seller this holiday. Exactly. Dude, holiday 2021, do you think there's going to be a shortage for PS5s? I'm going to say highly, highly, highly unlikely. If there's 10 million people, maybe 10 million is too much. If there's 4 million people ready to buy a PS5 holiday 2021, I fully believe Sony will have everything sorted out. The world will be in a much different place, hopefully, by that point. They will have more than 4 million ready to sell. God of War, in my opinion, is the game that you use to push a massive amount of PS5s. Alongside the full-blown Spider-Man sequel. Like, God of War, to me, is that game that even if it was developed on a PS4, you don't release it on PS4. You use this as your ace to move those units, man. And I think this just comes down to what Sony is trying to achieve. I very well wouldn't be surprised if Sony's sitting back and waiting, because you have to understand, Sony doesn't know how the PS5 is going to sell. What Sony wants is it to sell better than the PS4. What Sony wants is for the PS5 to be the new main platform and to just, sell like never before. That's what they want, obviously. But they don't know for sure that that's going to happen, even with, how many games they have on offer. And I think that we could be looking at a situation where maybe they don't know what they want to do yet. Maybe they're on the fence about it. Maybe if it seems that the demand for the PS5 truly is like way beyond even their expectations, or like they could break records this holiday, maybe then that's when they make the executive decision. You know what? God of War, PS5 only, because we're gonna sell. We're gonna move units this holiday, boys. That's like I'm assuming that's what Sony wants to do, but I think that just depends on demand. Like I told you guys, maybe another reason other than Sony wanting to maximize sales for Horizon Forbidden West as well as Spider-Man Miles Morales, maybe another reason they decided to make them cross-gen, and maybe we learned this at the last minute. This is just pure speculation, and I'm probably completely wrong, but maybe it's because they did realize we're not going to be able to meet the demand. Like if you have a system seller game, Horizon Forbidden West, that's a 10 million plus seller. Okay, so you would assume at the very least you need to have 10 million PS5s out in the wild. So if the game comes out, say April 2021, could Sony have 10 million plus PS5s out in the wild? Of course, but this is the sequel. So to assume it's going to sell more than 10 million, to assume that this is going to be a game that could potentially push millions and millions of PS5 units at one time in a short period of time, if you can't meet the demand and you can't sell millions and millions of PS5 units because they're not produced, what do you do? In my opinion, that could very well be a reason why Horizon specifically maybe isn't PS5 only. Abdul, you're saying, do you think there will be a PS5 Pro in the next 2 to 3 years? No, I don't think so, honestly. Sony might. I mean, there's been evidence that they may be looking into it, but I don't suspect it. Because the PS5 seems pretty future-proof for now. But we're going to have to see. Culture Kiwi, bro, 2021 E3 is going to be incredible for Sony. Dude, I don't know if you know this or not. Sony's not going to be at E3 2021, even if E3 still exists. Sony has made it abundantly clear they're on their own. Like, they are leading the way. They know what they have, and they know that they don't need E3 anymore. If anything, E3 needs them. I can't. Your name's hard to read. What's on young Frank's mind? You're saying, all right, guys. Yeah, all right, guys. All right, guys. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about God of War because, look, I don't know. If you were to ask me, MBG, honestly, what do you think? Do you think God of War is going to be a cross-gen title? I want to say no. It just doesn't seem like the type of title that Sony would want to make cross-gen, because it seems more likely to me that if it is going to release 2021, it's going to release holiday 2021, and Sony cares very much about selling consoles, and they will be able to meet the demand come holiday 2021. So why not have that game as your first big, and I'm talking like big, your first big PS5 only system seller? Okay, I could be wrong. It could very well be cross-gen. But, it is worth noting that Sony did drop this cross-gen news immediately after they revealed God of War. So I would not be shocked. I hope it's not, because again, God of War seems to me like the type of game you're talking about. If it is a full-blown sequel, that could really, Cory Barlog, he said it himself. The number one thing he's most excited about when it comes to the PS5 is the SSD. And we know that the SSD in some ways can fundamentally change some aspects of game design. And it could potentially change it in bigger ways when it comes to game design than we're even thinking of. We're not the developers. We're not thinking about it. Imagine if you are a developer and you know what could potentially be possible and you start thinking outside the box. Cory Barlog and his development team over there, they seem like a bunch that's what they would want to do. It could very well be the developer's choice as well. I want to make that clear. Like, we don't know. Like, Sony could literally just say it's up to you if you want to make your game cross-gen for now. And if that's the case, maybe, Guerrilla was like, yeah, let's do cross-gen because we pretty much made more than half this game on a PS4 dev kit. So we can do that. And maybe a studio like Santa Monica's like, we want to push the PS5. Like, we want to see what we can do. I could be wrong, but, I don't know. iStyler18, you're saying, am I the only one butthurt over Splinter Cell VR? No, I'm sure you're not. MBG is drinking the Kool-Aid. God of War Ragnarok will be on the PS4, 95% chance. There's no way that it doesn't change my opinion. Look, I want you to understand, I'm not saying it won't be. And I would not be even remotely surprised at this point if it is. I think it would be disappointing, honestly. Because again, it's a holiday 2021 game, in my opinion. It can't come any sooner than that. So yeah, it would be disappointing, but I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not sitting here saying 3 to 4 years Sony will support the PS4. See, this is where Jim Ryan needs to explain further. He's making some huge mistakes here. James, you're saying 2077 is an X-Plat and is beautiful and runs on the base PS4. I think you meant to say multi-plat. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what X stands for. Yeah, it is a multi-plat, and it does look like it's going to run great on the PS4, but look, I'm just saying, when Jim Ryan said that they're going to support the PS4 for 3 to 4 more years, people are running with this, assuming that he meant exclusive game-wise. Guys, that's not what he meant, okay? What he was talking about is just supporting developers, still producing the console in mass, updates, just really kind of showing the PS4 community that they're still paying attention to it, but he's not talking about exclusive games. Like, you're not going to see a cross-gen, and I would be shocked like I've never been shocked before from Sony. You're not going to see a cross-gen, PS5 and PS4 exclusive in 2022 from their first party. You're not going to see it. Okay, it's just not going to happen. So if it did, I would be beyond shocked. So that's not what he meant. And again, it's the timing of when he said that. People are comparing that to when Phil Spencer and Matt Booty talked about them supporting the Xbox One for 1 to 2 years, saying, look, Sony's saying they're going to support it for double that. Like, no. Phil Spencer and Matt Booty explicitly said that they're going to be allowing developers, their first-party developers, if they want to release their games cross-gen. That's not what Jim Ryan's talking about. Jim Ryan's talking about third-party. He's talking about, just overall general support for the PS4. This should be obvious. Come on. Anyway, I'm going to do something a little bit different, a little bit unscripted here. This whole thing is unscripted, but off-script. Let's talk about the development woes of the PS5, because we have Dusk Golem once again doubling down on doubling down. I'm making up words. Doubling down, I should say, on the development woes of Resident Evil Village on the PS5. Okay, so where do we begin here? I have some stuff I'm going to present to you, and I will for sure be making a separate video on this, but I don't want to focus on Dusk Golem per se, because I know that I've made multiple videos kind of disputing a lot of his claims, and we seem to have proof. I'm going to be 100% fair right now, okay? Am I under the belief that every single developer, that every single publisher, that every single game engine is going to meld perfectly with no issues whatsoever with the PS5 and the PS5 dev kit? No, I don't think that at all, because that doesn't make sense. That nothing's ever that easy, and it's just not that good. That's just not life. That's not real life. Bedgear, you're saying a $199 PS4 and a $299 PS4 Pro will undercut an Xbox Series X this holiday. Sony don't want to give away that marketplace for free to Microsoft. I bet Sony still wants to hit 150 million PS4 sold. I don't know, man. I don't know. It could be true what you're saying. It could also be more likely that maybe they're focusing on the PS5 and they want to make the PS5 the console that sells 150 million units. You know, Sony, in my opinion, is pretty on board with let's push it forward and not stay stuck in the mud. You know what I mean? But anyway, thank you for that super chat, by the way. Getting back to the discussion, look, I want to make it clear that I'm not here to say Dusk Golem or anybody else is a liar or they're just making stuff up, because I don't care. What I know is that these are rumors that have persisted and they continue to pop up. Okay? I don't want to say 100% matter of fact, because I don't know. I don't talk to developers. I have no communication with Capcom or the development team over there working on Resident Evil Village. I cannot say 100% that there are no issues. What I will say is this. If there were development issues, does that mean suddenly, like let's just humor it just for a second. Let's humor this for a second. Let's say there are some serious development issues with the PS5 version of Resident Evil 8 Village. Does that suddenly mean that every other developer under every other publisher and all other game engines are suddenly going to have that same problem? That because one game is struggling, because one development team is having an issue, that suddenly that means that the PS5 is difficult to develop for, it's another PS3 situation, and we can expect all games frame rates to be completely terrible and PS5 versions of third parties to be completely toned down. I mean, did we not just see gameplay running on the PS5 of Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and it looked pretty damn good to me, running at 60 FPS 4K? Again, that's humoring the idea that this is even a thing. I want to ask you guys, did you guys notice anything about that Harry Potter trailer? I want to see if anybody else noticed this. For those of you who saw the Harry Potter trailer and you maybe went back and watched it, let me know if, like, how closely did you watch that trailer? Did you notice anything? iSiler18, you're saying the last two trailers of RE8 are rocky in the frames department. The game is not ready to be released. RE2 and 3 graphically look way better. Yeah, that is true. For the Harry Potter trailer, though, I want to see, did anybody here notice anything about that game when you watched the trailer? Because I did notice something, okay? And you guys are not going to like that I'm saying this, but I noticed it. And I have to be 100% here. If you go watch that trailer again, now here, I want to make it clear, like, yes, frame drops. I didn't notice the pop-in. Yes, frame drops. So don't get me wrong. I'm not losing the forest for the trees here, but I did notice that. And it did make me suddenly wonder, you know, is this really, could this possibly be a real thing? And I don't want to sit here and make it sound like I know for a fact it's not. There's no way, because I'm not a developer. I don't have a PS5 dev kit. I'm not making a game. But we do have some interesting comments being made by Digital Foundry's Richard Ledbetter recently about the PS5 and what he's heard when it comes to development versus the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Low texture detail. To me, that's the opposite. One thing I was impressed about with the Harry Potter trailer specifically, knowing it was running on a PS5, is the graphics looked great. Like, the texture detail looked incredible. The only thing I noticed with the Harry Potter trailer is there were moments when things were moving, not every scene, and this could very well just be because of, the situation the world is in with, the virus and whatnot, where it is causing people to have to work from home. I'm sure they're running into serious issues. They have to prep these trailers, and work in home environments. The games could be unoptimized. The game is a ways out. And yeah, it's alpha. So when I noticed the frame drops, I was like, that's interesting. That's interesting. I didn't really notice too many frame drops or anything in the Resident Evil Village trailer, but I will admit graphically it's certainly not the most impressive game. But I'm going to play a clip here for you guys. Give me 1 second. I have to actually bring it up on my OBS, but I'm going to do something a little bit different that I don't normally do. I'm going to literally pull up a clip that I want you guys to watch. And I cut it out, and this was an interview that was done recently with Richard Ledbetter from Digital Foundry, and I want you to listen to what he had to say. And what he was asked was, the power difference between the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, who's going to have the better console, which console is better to develop for, which will have the better results. You got to give me just 1 second here while I find it, because I have so many different files here. Oh no, don't tell me I accidentally deleted it. No, come on. I had this already. Man, I'm messing everything up today, guys. So, that's extremely disappointing. Okay, what I can do is this though. No worries. I still want to play the clip for you, saying check the recycling bin. Yeah, I should do that actually. Again, I don't normally do stuff like this live. Actually, I have a simpler solution here. So at least I assume I do. Here, I'm just gonna do it right here, right through my phone. You should be able to hear it. I gotta find it on Twitter because I posted on Twitter. I want you guys to hear this. I want you to hear what he had to say, and the timing of it is really interesting to me because this is around the same time we're hearing Dust Golem come out here and and see, he's talking about development issues and whatnot. So let me bring it up. I'm gonna pause it. All right, I'm going to play it right through my phone, right into the mic. Hopefully it's not too loud, but check this out. Again, this is Richard Ledbetter of Digital Foundry when he was asked about development on the two consoles.
Well, okay, there are two ways to look at this. First of all, I can tell you every single developer I've spoken to developing for PlayStation 5 has been evangelizing how easy it is to work for. It's essentially the same development environment as PlayStation 4, and you scale up from there for the new power, the new features and whatnot. I can't stress enough how happy developers seem to be with this situation. Now, specs-wise, Xbox Series X, there's been a lot of conjecture about how, Sony's boost clock brings it into contention against Series X, how bafflingly to me, how a solid-state storage drive with higher bandwidth is going to make for better graphics. If you look at the numbers, there is simply no doubt that the Xbox Series X is, on paper, the more powerful machine. However, again, speaking to developers, the development environment that they're dealing with, some people seem to be extremely happy with it. Other people are having problems with it because they've moved away from what was previously the XDK, which was specific for Xbox, to the GDK, which is a more general development environment for PC and for Xbox. And even Xbox One is encompassed by the GDK. So, the long-term win with the GDK is that you're going to be able to develop for it and deploy across all of these different systems. But in the short term, I have heard developers having some problems with it. And whether that is all going to sort of manifest in final games is the big question. So, yeah, it's really difficult to call at this moment. And I think ultimately the specs issue is an interesting one. but it's all going to be down to the final software. It always is. Well,
so yeah, hopefully that came through well for you guys. We have a new member, Don. Thank you so much, buddy. I didn't miss you. I still got you here. Welcome to the channel. Appreciate you supporting me directly. Really appreciate that, buddy. Look forward to your exclusive perks. But hopefully that came through okay. I don't know how low quality that sounded, but I thought that was important enough to play it on its own. And again, I'm gonna have to make a separate video about that. iSiler18, you're saying, yeah, Capcom is full of blank with RE8. Yeah, I don't know, man. See, there was some really important stuff he said here. Now, we have to understand Richard Ledbetter is an individual who certainly has talked to many developers, and I'm sure he's had many conversations with developers with PS5 dev kits and Xbox Series X dev kits. And it's crazy to hear what he said, because he literally said the opposite of what these negative rumors we've been hearing for God knows how long now. It's been pretty much since the beginning about how, oh, developers are struggling with the PS5, blah, blah, blah. He literally said that he can't stress enough how every single developer he's talked to who has worked with the PS5 he used the word evangelized, okay? Like, that's how serious this man is in explaining that this is apparently the easiest console ever to develop for, and developers love it. To whereas he then went on to confirm that because, you know, Microsoft has, I guess, switched up their SDK or whatever, it's like a GDK, it's taking developers longer to like wrap their head around it, to figure it out. The main benefit of it, because, you know, he does make it clear there is a benefit. There's a reason why Microsoft decided to do this, even though it seems to be impacting development, is that once you figure out how to use it and develop for it and figure out all the development tools, you can then deploy your game across all the different platforms that Xbox is on, which at this point is many. So I do understand that, but he's literally basically flipping the script here. And who you're going to listen to? You're going to listen to Richard Ledbetter, who clearly is somebody that can be believed and would not be making this crap up, or you're going to believe some dude on the internet who says he heard it from somebody. You know, some dude who has, it's worth noting, look, guys, it's worth noting that the last time we talked about this, the dude literally said he's not really into the whole technical spec thing, so he's not too familiar with it. I mean, Richard Ledbetter is. Richard Ledbetter knows. Now, he does say that, yes, the Series X is the more powerful console, you know, and he did point out that an SSD alone, an IO throughput alone, cannot necessarily make games look like, it can't literally produce better looking games, but it can make it so that it's easier to, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but basically it makes it easier for developers to display their games the way they're meant to be displayed, with no hiccups, no issues whatsoever. Billy Too Smooth, you're saying, please make a video about this and link it. I definitely will, dude, because this is something that, and yeah, he did say on paper, and it's because I saw somebody, when I posted this out on Twitter, somebody was like, we need to get one thing straight here. The Xbox Series X is the most powerful console. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Not on paper. It is. And I'm like, dude, you have to understand. People have to say that because Microsoft hasn't shown, let's be honest here, shit on that console. They haven't shown anything. The closest thing they got to it was Halo Infinite, and that was running on a PC apparently spec'd for the Series X. And come on. And on top of that, guys, get this shit. And I might have to include this in the video when I make it. Apparently, the Ultimate Edition of Devil May Cry 5, they're saying that ray tracing will be available day one on the PS5 version, but ray tracing is going to have to be patched in later on for the Series X version. This is the second time we're hearing that ray tracing, the console that's supposed to be able to do it so much better and have all those, ray tracing cores and whatnot. This is the second time we're hearing it's going to have it literally patched in. The first time was with Halo Infinite from a first-party studio. So I believe Richard, man. I mean, he said a lot of other stuff. Oh, something else that I need to bring up to you guys that Richard Ledbetter did talk about, and I may actually try to find this on my phone as well because somebody linked it to me, is apparently he did confirm. And again, this is somebody that you want to listen to. He knows his stuff. He knows his craft. He knows what he's talking about. He's like, he's the spec expert here. He said that he's fairly, he's definitely concerned about the Series S potentially holding games back due to the RAM. So not only have we heard developers, because, if you don't want to believe developers themselves, if you don't want to believe them, you also have the people, the experts out here who know, the specs up and down. They know, they're very well rounded in this area. They're saying the same thing. Chase the Chosen, when you're saying, come on, guys, we're going to listen to people like Dealer and D-Batch on his and his cult, or Richard, who actually knows what the F he's talking about. Hey, man, I'm not here to tell you who you should or shouldn't be listening to. I have no qualm with really anybody personally because I just don't care. People, I understand why people, I'm a very understanding person. Like, I understand why people take the stances they do. And a lot of the times, their reasoning isn't just something that's completely like asinine, I mean, sometimes it is, but I do listen to what other people have to say, but at the same time, I just have to be like, yeah, but is it really though? Like that, like that's the big thing. But even putting that aside, when I listen to what people say, it's like, okay, you're maybe not wrong when you say that games will look and run better, or should look, people say like games will look and run better on the Series X. What you should be saying is they should look and run better on the Series X, because as of right now, in my opinion, anybody who's really still advocating for the power of the Series X, they don't really have a leg to stand on. The only leg they had to stand on is in the spec sheet itself. Meanwhile, Sony is out here crushing it, just showing you with, letting the games do the talking, man, showing you real-time ray tracing, showing you next-gen gaming experiences, showing you what next-gen games look like on the less powerful console. iSiler 18, I mean, I gotta say, man, Microsoft's marketing has really kind of drilled it into gamers' heads. Like, people who follow Xbox, they really drilled it like power matters. It's everything. And, I can only assume Microsoft did that because PlayStation got in their heads back in 2013 and 14. iSiler 18, you're saying combine that with no Series X gameplay. Yes, yet I smell a rat. Yeah, I don't know, man. Weird situation. I got to tell you, there's this one other clip I do want to bring up. Hold on. Sorry. Let me see if I can find it, because somebody sent it to me. It might be a little bit harder for me to find. You just give me a moment here, because this is something else that Richard said as well, and it pertains to the Series S. And I do think it's important because it's just like, people are, this is kind of create two sides here, What does muscle-bound gaming mean? It means that anytime you play a game where you can die, you have to do 10 push-ups. And if not push-ups, you can do really any exercise, but you have to do 10 reps after you die before you can pick the controller back up. That's what muscle-bound gaming means. Do I do that? I would love to sit here and lie to you guys and be like, yeah, and I'm completely ripped and shredded, but I'm kind of out of shape at the moment. I don't actually do that. But if you're wondering what muscle-bound gaming means, now you know. Damn it, I'm having a hard time finding this for some reason. Let me just scroll through here really quickly. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. I might have to save it for the video, but it was something I definitely wanted to share with you guys. I kept seeing it literally like over and over again yesterday. Did somebody quote it to me maybe? No, I guess not. But yeah, I mean, look, guys, I'm not saying that there couldn't potentially be any development issues with the PS5. You need to do 10 push-ups every time you die in Demon's Souls. Dude, I'd probably die in real life if I did that. Either that or I'd be like, shredded as F, But it means an MVG is 26-inch biceps. Definitely not. Definitely not. It's worth noting that when I made the name Muscle-Bound Gamer, I was like definitely in better shape than I am now. I'm not, again, I know I keep saying that, I'm not completely out of shape, but when it comes to the idea that there's like, you know, severe development issues with a PS5 and, you know, frame rates in games are going to tank and whatnot and all this stuff. I'm just like, look, it's up to the developers. And it's, you know, I'm going to be real right now. It's in the developers' best interest to make sure that their games run as well as they can on the PS4, on the PS5, because let's be real right now. Which console is going to sell better? Which console is going to be the market leader, potentially by a very large margin? And I'm not saying this as in like, oh, if Sony made it hard for you guys to develop your games. That's not what we've been hearing. I'm just saying it's in the developer's best interest if they're selling their game on the PS5 to make sure that it runs as good as it possibly can on the PS5 because, you know, that's going to be the chance that your game's going to sell way more copies on the PS5, you know, it's much higher. So, let me see here. We have Oyakarumi saying, MBG, are you a chicken chaser? Do you chase chickens? LOL. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. MBG, I sent you the video on Twitter. Okay, go check it. All right, cool. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Here it is. Okay.
Is that the same fate?
All right, guys, here we go.
The same fate could befall the Series S as developers really push the hardware. Memory is so important, it really is, and I'm not, as I said, I'm not too concerned about the GPU in the S because resolution, scaling back resolution is such a win. But the memory side of things, that is my concern. So yeah, I think in the short term, not a problem. In the longer term,
time maybe.
Yeah. I can tell you, every single developer I've spoken to developing for PlayStation 5 has been evangelizing how easy it is to work for. It's essentially the same development environment as PlayStation 4.
Yeah, so I think we got that section already. But he did, you know, he mentions the S briefly, and he you know, I don't know how well you guys could hear that. I apologize if it was too low. It was playing through my phone, but you know, he's just basically expressing the same concern that all of us have been expressing, which is, could this console, the Series S, I get it. It's a very pro-consumer console. It's a great entry point into next gen, very affordable. But at the end of the day, like, should we be concerned that potentially, you know, and how does this affect PS5 owners? What about third-party games? Could this potentially affect next-gen only third-party games because they have to tether that game to the lowest common denominator, which will in fact be the Series S? Is that going to impact development? And it could. It could, maybe, you know, you know what? Let's be honest. It's going to impact development because that's just another SKU they have to worry about. But I'm talking about game design, right? We've seen multiple developers express their concern over this, and they're all citing the same thing. They're citing the RAM. They're saying that in the long run, like, this might not be enough. Like, it's enough now. It's enough now, but game design is going to progress. And I'm telling you, man, like, I'm not fearful that the PS4 is going to hold back game development because I do not suspect that Sony's going to really be supporting cross-gen games for that long. I mean, yes, it's a surprise that they're even doing it at all, but I don't think you're going to see anything beyond 2021, you know, become cross-gen or be cross-gen. But I just, you know, when we fully move, what I'm trying to say is when we fully move on to next gen, guys, like, it's just the next gen consoles. Like, nobody's talking about the PS4 or the Xbox One. They're a thing of the past now. The Series S is still going to be there, and it will be there throughout the entire generation. And so I think it's totally fair to question, is this going to affect development? And that's one other thing I did mention in my video recently, is that Jim Ryan, you know, he was basically trashing the Series S, man. He was like, you know, they've been problematic and they just haven't really done that well. And I don't think people, I think, interpreted what he was saying. Maybe I interpreted it a different way, but he was kind of saying that, you know what? I'm going to take a left turn here because, guys, we're almost at the 2.5 hour mark and I can't go much longer, but there was one other thing I had to bring up. It's actually really interesting. Don, you're saying, hey, boss, man, I pre-ordered the PS5 through the invitation from Sony, but I realized many YouTubers I subscribed to didn't. Did you get the invitation? As far as I know, I didn't, man. I didn't. And, that's kind of surprised me, but don't worry, guys. We're going to go a little bit longer, but yeah, no, I didn't get that invitation. Freeze Vamp, you're saying I have something important to talk to you with. All right, well, shoot, Freeze Vamp. I'll try to see it, but I have to. I do have one last thing I have to talk about before I go. But yeah, man, it's been a hell of a week. Honestly, it's been crazy. Talk about a roller coaster ride of with the PS5. But what do you guys think? Before I move on to this final thing I want to talk about, what do you think about what I said earlier? Do you believe that Sony may have held back one more game announcement? Not necessarily a launch title. I'm not saying that. But I'm talking about just an exclusive game that could be a 2021 game. Do you think Sony held it back to save it for October so they could have one more win? Do you think it makes sense as a form of mitigating the damage that could have been done with the cross-gen reveal? A lot of you guys are saying, yeah. I mean, I think it's likely, dude. An article was saying a Bloodborne remaster may come. That would be insane if that's the game they held back, because that's going to get blowback. Look, I'm going to buy Bloodborne remastered on PS5 if it's real, and I think it is real, and it's going to go to PC as well, but let's not kid ourselves. That's going to get blowback, because people are going to be like, you're going to tell me Witcher 3 gets a damn free upgrade, but my Bloodborne can't? Come on, guys. I'm not defending it, but we know Sony's going to charge for it. That's what they do. And they're going to charge for it because they know people are going to buy it. And am I going to buy it? Yeah, but I still think that Sony's got to be careful. They're walking a fine line here with the Spider-Man remaster. And the only way I could see them maybe getting away with the Bloodborne remaster is if it's 20 or 30 bucks. If it's any more than that, if it's 40 bucks, if they make that shit 50 bucks, oh god, that's going to be bad. They're going to get a lot of blowback. So I hope that that's not the game that they am I cool with Bloodborne going to PC? I am. I mean, dude, who's buying a PS4 for Bloodborne, man? Give it life. Give it life. That's a game that deserves to live on. Most games do at this point that came out earlier. I'm totally cool with older games that nobody's buying a console for anymore, going to the PC. Solid Crusader 89, hey MBG, and those who weren't able to pre-order, there will be more PS5 pre-orders on September 22nd at Walmart in store. So you have to be in store to pre-order. Okay. Hopefully that's, I don't know if that's true or not. I'll assume it is, but Bloodborne should be included with the Demon Souls, in my opinion. Yeah, I kind of expected something like that. But I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Bloodborne thing, but I do think they saved one game. Anyway, this is the last thing I have to discuss with you guys before we go, because I came across this and I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. So I'm reading from an article from WCCF Tech, and I may or may not include this in a separate video. Freeze Vamp, you're saying my message has been skipped. I'm sorry, buddy. It's really hard. You're saying, okay, MBG, yesterday I pre-ordered the PS5 from Antonline website. They worried me when they sent me an email, and they said my order is under screening. If it's fake, they will refund me within 5 days. Well, I mean, I can't really say too much about that, buddy, other than that I hope it's not. Just keep an eye out. If you're really that worried and it does end up being a fake, just keep just keep in mind that there will be more pre-orders between now and launch. But Oyakarum, you're saying, as much as I love Fable, I'm not sure the game will be out on time, and God forbid it end up like Scalebound. I don't think it'll get canceled. Definitely not, but it seems like it is a ways away. Wendigo, you're saying, with Demon Souls remake at launch, I doubt we will see another Souls game like Bloodborne remaster anytime soon. I mean, it depends. I do agree that it is it would be weird timing. I wouldn't be surprised if it's an early 2021 game. Sony might not make a big deal of it. They might not. And I think it's in their best interest not to. If they plan to resell Bloodborne on the PS5, it's in Sony's best interest to just be like, it's a thing. Here it is. It's also coming to PC. Back to your regularly scheduled PS5 info. And it's just like, oh, okay. Because they know anybody who cares about it is going to buy it. I don't think that's a game that they really need to push hard. But anyway, this article I'm reading from Albert Pinello, what if Xbox Velocity architecture is as performant as the PS5 SSD and Xbox Series S outperforms PS5 frame rates? Yes, that's right, guys. Albert Pinello, Microsoft's former Xbox marketing director, has taken to Twitter following yesterday's PS5 showcase. On Twitter, Pinello talked about Sony's next-gen messaging, saying that it doesn't appear to be different from Microsoft's cross-gen philosophy after all. In addition to this, the former Xbox marketing director also theorized about Microsoft's next-gen Xbox Velocity architecture being as potent as the ultra-fast PS5 SSD and the Xbox Series S outperforming the PS5 when it comes to frame rates. I will read his quote in just a second, but Don, you're saying, I'm sorry to be a buzzkiller, but Walmart canceled the September 22nd plan to restock. A quick Google and you'll find the info. Helping a friend also. Okay, yeah, I could have swore I read something about that, but I wasn't 100% sure. So thank you for that update, Don. I did see something along the lines of Walmart kind of like something about in-store pre-order something, but I wasn't sure if that was it. So thank you for that. So this is exactly... look, so this person on Twitter, Nick Marcel said, I may be dumb as F, but I think 9.3 T-flops or whatever the PS5 has in its base is more than 4 T-flops in the S. So clearly, I mean, look, the guy's getting stuff confused. The PS, well, he's not really getting it confused. Actually, no, my bad. I'm getting it confused. I thought he said PS4. He said PS5. So yeah, he's basically just pointing out that on paper, and yes, like, let's be real, we don't even need to refer to paper here. The PS5 is incredibly more powerful than the Series S. You're talking about and I don't care about T-flops ultimately, and they are not the best measurement, but even if that's just what you want to bring it down to, like, to pay $100 more for a 10.3 T-flop machine versus a 4 T-flop machine, come on. That's a huge difference. That's not a slight difference. That's not a T-flop or two. That's huge. But anyway, Albert Pinello says that's true, but the CPU in the S is nearly the same as the X, and the CPU will have less GPU overhead to contend with. So I'm willing to bet that for cross-platform games, you'll see better frame rates on the Series S than you will on the PS5. And then this is what he said. He says, what happens when the Xbox Velocity architecture turns out to be as every bit as performant as the PS5 SSD? And then it also turns out that frame rates are better on the Series S because in order to overclock to get that 10.2 T-flops, you can't get to 60 FPS on your games. That'll be fun. Crispy, you're saying also 300 gigabytes plus more space. Yeah, that too, considering the file size of next gen games is going to be just as high as they are now. Look, like, I put out a tweet to this. Okay, I quote tweeted this, at least the article anyway, and I just had to be brutally honest and say, what if? You ready, guys? You ready for this? What if no one cares? I know that's crazy. What if no one cares? Because the thing that 90% of gamers, and I need to emphasize gamers, care about are the games. Do I anticipate that somehow the Series S is going to have slightly higher frame rates than the PS5? No, I do not. Would I give a flying F if it did? No, I would not. Guys, the way I want to end this podcast, because I'm going to have to end it in just a few minutes here, is I want to have one last discussion really focusing in on what matters most at the end of the day. I just feel like I'm teaching a class to an extent. Like I have to teach a philosophy here that we must all embrace as gamers. And oh, dude, what's so funny too is that Albert Pinello tweet underneath it. Who was it? What's his name? Mike Ybarra, formerly of Xbox, left Xbox, clearly was not happy with the direction they're going in. This is what he said. I don't have his quote, I don't have his tweet right in front of me, but he essentially said to Albert Pinello, but come on, man, it doesn't matter. Like, this isn't what matters. Like, nobody cares about this small, minute, shit that it doesn't matter. What people care about is the gaming experiences you're going to get at the end of the day. And he was basically saying exactly what I'm going to tell you is he's dead on, man. He hit the nail on the head. And there's people are gonna be like, oh, this is just damage control. You know what? Call it whatever you want, man. I'm gonna be playing games at the end of the day. You do what you want. You still fixate on the specs. And I know that there have been times where I fixated on the specs as well. But I feel like there's a time and place. And I think earlier this year when we had barely any next-gen information, that's okay. If you want to fixate on the specs, you want to fixate on what's going to be on the spec sheets, do it then. But look at where we are now, guys. Look at where we are. We're on the cusp. We're on the edge of diving headfirst into next gen with games, with new gaming experiences. Why is this still the focus? Chase the Chosen One, you're saying if the Series S is performing better than the PS5, it wouldn't mean it's performing better than the Series X. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, I don't know, man. You also have Low Y saying Pinello was a marketing director. Why does his 2 cents even matter? Yeah, I mean, marketing. So but yeah, just to finish off this podcast, guys, and I'm glad I could have Demon Souls gameplay running in the background while I give this epilogue, I guess. Look, at the end of the day, we cannot lose the forest for the trees here, and many people are, where I get it. There's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows, there's a lot of conversation about cross-gen, and I am always in the thick of these conversations. I'm not trying to make it sound like I have not been part of these conversations, that I have not peddled these conversations. I 100% have, and to an extent, I always will, because that's what I do here. Like, I have a channel and I'm creating content, and I'm not trying to avoid certain conversations. Of course, I don't conversate about everything. I don't cover everything. But, just the most important point I think I made recently in a recent video. It was my 23-minute long video where I talked about, the difference between Sony's cross-gen approach and Microsoft's, and how it's hard for me to feel that upset about Sony's approach to cross-gen, because, people are wondering, like, why were you so hard? You look like a fool now because you completely ripped into Xbox, and you talked about how cross-gen was going to hold everything back and all this. And it's like, was I wrong? Like, if Xbox was the only company that was doing cross-gen still, like, am I really wrong? Because I don't think I am. I'm pretty sure if you look at what Xbox has revealed, what they have shown, if they had an opportunity, which they had many opportunities to prove that cross-gen isn't a big deal, don't worry about it, they failed, and they failed hard. I mean, they fell flat on their face. Sony didn't. If Sony showed gameplay of Spider-Man, Miles Morales, or Demon Souls, and it looked anything like what we saw with Halo Infinite, I would be ripping Sony in half right now, just like I did Microsoft. But they didn't. And so what it ultimately comes down to, guys, and all that really matters at the end of the day, especially now that we're so close, are the gaming experiences. And I am very happy that Sony is still dedicated to exclusive games such as Demon Souls only being on PS5, Ratchet and Clank, and I'm assuming many others in the future. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm all upset, and I'm going to refuse to play and support Horizon Forbidden West and Spider-Man because they're cross-gen. The games are still going to be phenomenal. We all know this, okay? If you think about it, if anything, this whole situation has kind of really put a magnifying glass on Microsoft, even more so than it originally was. Because if you think about the whole situation as to why, MBG, why have you been so hard on Microsoft for so long? Why? And it's always been because, like, when are they going to step their game up? Literally, Pun intended. Like when are their games going to be better? When are they going to start trying to match the output of Sony and some of these bigger other AAA publishers? I'm not looking to Microsoft to be a AA indie publisher. I'm not looking for them for the smaller gaming experiences because I know they can be way more than that. When are they going to step it up? Oh, but what about Flight Simulator? What about it? What about Gears Tactics? What about it? But those games are not for most people. I'm talking about the cinematic single player experiences, okay, that we just simply don't get enough of in 2020 or in modern day gaming. And Sony and a few other big publishers are the only ones keeping it alive. That's what I'm talking about here. And it puts a magnifying glass on that because the magnifying glass was originally on the whole cross gen conversation. And it's like, I know what people are going to say, oh, you're just moving the goalposts. Call it whatever you want, man, but I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. You're going to sit there and try to tell me that Spider-Man is even comparable to Halo? You're going to sit there and try to tell me that Horizon Forbidden West's first trailer, granted we haven't seen gameplay, but you're going to tell me that's comparable to Halo? It's not. And so you say, well, why do you just keep saying Halo? What else is there? What else has Microsoft shown? That's all I'm trying to say, guys. Like, we're losing the forest for the trees. It's about the games at the end of the day. Always has been, always will be. And you better believe that if Microsoft was showing up to next gen, showing off Hellblade 2 gameplay, cross-gen or not, and that looked amazing, and Halo did look great, and they showed maybe a little something else running on the Series X, you better believe I wouldn't be clowning them. I wouldn't be calling them out. Because I'd be like, damn, they're stepping up their game. People forget so quickly. Do you not remember the way I was talking about Xbox at the beginning of this year? How when they showed off the Series X and they showed Hellblade 2, I was like, damn, Microsoft's really stepping up. They're not playing around anymore. Like, they're really going to take it to Sony this year. Yeah, and do you not remember what I was saying going into the July 23rd event? How I genuinely believed, like, they're going to go all in. They're laying it all out on the table. And they're not going to screw it up. Brett, you're saying I'm late to the show, but I was wondering if you have an opinion on the claims that NVIDIA has matched the PS5 SSD speed with their new card. I do not have an opinion on that because I have not even remotely looked into it, unfortunately. So I don't want to speak to it because I don't know. But I feel like that would be a difficult thing to achieve, but I'm assuming it's possible. I don't know. Fearful Tuna, you're saying anybody else want the Order 1886 sequel? 100%, buddy. I 100% do, but I don't think we're ever going to get it. Spacebar, you're saying with the PS5 being easier to dev for, we could very well see Sony churn out AAA games at the rate that Microsoft is putting out AA. Sony chose an interesting way to cut dev costs. Yeah, that's something else that we haven't really talked about, is that Sony does plan to up the production. Like, again, Sony seems to be trying to strive for what would at one point be considered the impossible, but that is, can you have this type of quality, but also can you focus on quantity? Like, does one have to come at the cost of the other, or can you have the best of both worlds? Sony may be on the verge of achieving that, man. Like, I think the PS5 generation is where they achieve that. And I think that's why you may see the PS5 be one of the best-selling consoles, if not possibly, I don't want to say the best, because, I mean, come on, to surpass the PS2, you're going to have to do something really special, but I think it could easily match the PS4, possibly surpass it. True Witty, you're saying Counter PS Now has 800 plus games for EA Play, 5 altogether, 15 Game Pass, 200 games with EA Play, 15 if you do the math. The value is different for each. So I guess you're comparing PlayStation Now and Game Pass. Yeah, PS Now seems to be a better deal than I think it's given credit for, but you could argue that that has to do with maybe Sony not marketing it the same way Microsoft markets Game Pass. Chris B. are saying NVIDIA's RTX IO has not matched PS5's. Moore's Law is dead. Talked about it a week or so back. Okay, I mean, I'll take your word for it, buddy. TP1 is what I'll call you. How many games will you get for PS5 on launch? I'm going to get all of them if I can. You know, I mean, sure, if I'm in a position where I'm lucky enough to be able to do that, hopefully. I would like to, dude, look, this is the first time in a console generation where I feel like I'm in a position where I can get it all if I'm able to. If I can get all the accessories, if I can get the console, multiple controllers, if I can get all the games, if they're available, I want to do it because I'm all in, man. I'm all in. I mean, sure, I'm lucky enough I can use the fact that I'm a content creator to justify this, but also the fact that the things I'm looking to invest in, I'm using the word invest, are things that go hand in hand with my content creation. Brett Williams, let's keep in mind that Miles Morales won't look anywhere near as good on the PS4. That's why it was shown on the PS5. Yeah, it'll still look good, but yeah, there's going to be a huge difference between the way games look on the PS5 versus how they look on the PS4, no doubt. Um, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to end this podcast on in my opinion, it's a more positive note where it's not about who's better, what's better, my console's better than yours. I know we get into the weeds of that stuff a lot, but to me, it just feels like at the end of the day, you think about what we're passionate about here, what we care about most. And honestly, again, it's like knowing that we're so close to the PS5 launch, seeing these games recently, specifically seeing the gameplay, specifically that Demon Souls, man. Like it feels like it ignited something in me again where it's like I've always been passionate about gaming. I feel as though I'll always be passionate about gaming, but I think you all understand when I say that there are these times where you kind of go up and down with it where sometimes you're just not feeling it as much as say other times. And experiencing this new launch, seeing how strong the launch lineup is, seeing how strong um the lineup of 2021 is looking for the PS5. I have this incredible, just this incredible feeling of excitement where it's like I can't wait to dive into these games, man, and it's just going to feel like a breath of fresh air. It really is if I could speak. Oh, Yakarumi saying, man, bro, even when Sony is losing, they're winning. Not to say PlayStation is losing. Yeah, I mean, well, that's another thing that is worth mentioning before I wrap this up is I said this in a tweet the other day. I think I quote tweeted Benji Sales because Benji Sales put out on Twitter, he basically said that look, like Sony's still gonna sell like really well. Like the PS5 is gonna sell really well for one reason and one reason only, because of the quality of the games that their studios produce. Like they're powerhouses. And I quote tweeted that and I said, yes, like this right here is why PlayStation fans are so loyal. Even when they do some deceptive marketing, unfortunately, and they throw us some curveballs, even why some people give Sony a pass, because at the end of the day, Sony gets the most important thing right. And you already know what that is. And I cannot ever argue that. Like, I can sit here and be as pissed off at Jim Ryan as I want. I can be as pissed off at Sony as I want. I can freak out. I can rant. But you know what they get right? The thing that matters most to me as a gamer at the end of the day. The thing that, you know what? Okay, you want to announce cross-gen games out of nowhere and make me question what the F is going on? Why are you doing this? But you also want to show me that Demon Souls gameplay and tell me it's going to be there at launch. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be a hell of a lot harder for me to focus on that damn curveball you threw with the cross-gen games than it will be for me to focus on that Demon Souls game, because that shit looks amazing and it's going to be there at launch. In case you guys can't tell, I am hyped as hell for Demon Souls. You see what I'm saying though? Like, and I'm not saying that it means we justify it and we say, oh, it's okay, Sony, you do whatever you want. No, we still hold them accountable, but we don't take away what they do right. And we need to always continue to let them know. Like like I'm pissed off that Jim Ryan didn't give more of an explanation as to the cross-gen and he just said everybody should be happy. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Please explain. But I am happy to hear that in the same interview or a different interview recently, he also said that they plan to double down on making their games bigger and better and investing more money into them. Like, that's what I want to hear, because I care about that. True Whittier saying Ragnarok was meant to be DLC, but it got too big. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, man. There's no doubt that we're going to have to get further into the generation to really see both of these next-gen consoles push to their limits. And guys, I'm telling you, when we get to 2023 and 2024, it's going to be a hell of a thing to see if the Series S really does have some type of negative impact. Because if it does, it's not going to be good, man. And I don't know how developers will react. We don't know how the Xbox consoles are going to sell. There's no doubt that the PS5 looks very appealing for many reasons to developers. But, the fact that the Series S exists and it's a mandate that if you're making a multi-platform game on Xbox, you have to consider that console, again, talking about next-gen only games, that could potentially have a negative impact and make more developers flock to PS5. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Did you hear that Godfall for PS5 will be $70 and for PC it will be 60? I didn't hear about that. That's bullshit if it's true. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. That's bullshit. Sony, so help me God. Like, look, that's their prerogative, man. That's Counterplay Games. That's who's publishing it? 2K. That's their prerogative. I think that's total bullshit. Charge them $70 as well. I'm gonna be like, okay. One thing I do need to mention here, and again, I'm not trying to justify, but this is something we have to consider. I don't know if you guys remember, but one of the things we've been hearing about the PlayStation 5's UI is how deeply integrated games can become with it. And it almost, and we would need to hear about it first. We would need to see it and we would have to know for sure. But it almost sounds like developers would actually have to go out of their way to utilize a lot of these features and integrate them with their games. So what I will say is this, is if the features that Sony is offering, are up, it is up to developers to utilize them, and maybe the incentive for them to utilize them is you can sell your game for $10 more as the standard, and that's basically one of the benefits. However, if that is the case, I fully expect any game that's going to be sold at $70 on the PlayStation 5 to fully utilize all of those UI features and integrate them. Because if they do not and they still charge $70, that's going to be a conversation we're going to have. So, look, I'm not defending that because I'm just saying that very well could be a way they could justify it. At which point I would be like, okay, I kind of like that. I see somebody asking, they're asking if how I like Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. I like it. I really like it. But we're going to see, guys, like, okay, Godfall, first example. If that's true, if you're going to charge me $70, because I'm excited for that game, it's a launch game, I'm going to be there. I don't mind paying $70 for it, but if you're going to charge me $10 more than PC, and there's literally no reason, like there's not a single reason there why you're charging me $10 more, I'm going to call you out on that. I really am, because if this is true, I fully expect to find out that Godfall takes full advantage of all the features on offer that a game can have. Like, the game can be integrated. I mean, that's the only way I can justify it. And there's a good chance I might not be able to justify it. That's why, I'm calling it bullshit. But all right, guys, we're approaching the 3-hour mark. I always do this. I said I'm not going to hit the 3-hour mark. I got some stuff I got to take care of. Some stuff I got to do today. So unfortunately, I cannot do a Q&A. Also, I apologize. Damn it. I didn't want to. I totally forgot about this. There was a mental note I was trying to take. Give me 1 second here, because I have to bring up the last podcast, because I promised I would give this individual a shout out. Sorry about that. My phone's not muted. I promised I would give them a shout out, because I don't know. I'm sure you guys notice they do the timestamps. Devil Shooter 126M. Huge shout out to you, buddy. You actually go above and beyond with the timestamps, and I pin your comment and I heart it, and I know that it's probably takes you some time to do that. So thank you so much for doing that. You make my life a hell of a lot easier, and I can't thank you enough. And I promised I would give you a shout out for doing this. So once again, Devil Shooter 126, everybody give him or her a big thank you for doing what they do with the timestamps, because they make it much easier, the viewing experience for those who watch it later on, much easier. So shout out to you, buddy. I promised you I'd give you that shout out, and I'm really glad I didn't forget this time. So thanks again. But that's pretty much going to do it for episode 33 of Press X Podcast. For those of you who are big fans of the podcast, you like what I do here, hit that like button. We are at 900 likes. We have 1,300 people here. Can we hit 1,000 likes before I end this podcast? That would be fantastic if we could. If you really are a huge fan of the podcast, be sure to share it out, make more people aware of it. It is only available on YouTube. I know people have asked me if it's ever going to be available anywhere else. I cannot promise anything. For now, it's just going to be YouTube. But to everybody who shows up and watches and hangs out with me, thank you so much. To anybody who shows their support to any capacity, thank you, especially those of you who are my channel members and those who do super chats. You allow me to do what I do here and continue to double down here on this channel. And I've seen some people asking me if I plan to do a face reveal when I do the PlayStation 5 unboxing. I don't know about that yet. I mean, the clock is ticking and, that day is inching ever closer. I can't say for sure. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Who knows? I think it will depend on whether or not I plan to do a face cam when I stream PS5 games. Because if I do plan to do a face cam, then obviously, I'll do that. But wear a mask, yeah, that would. I don't know. I don't plan to do a public unboxing, but yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I always have trouble with the outros. I always extend them longer than I should, but that's gonna do it, guys. So until next time, take care.